Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. This is going to be another episode of SNTR Gaming News, and this is going to be about Elden Ring being less stressful according to an interview. But what does that mean? Is the game going to be easier, less challenging? The easy mode debate continues to rage on in many different ways. If you like these topics, these discussions, and all the different things that I cover, remember to hit subscribe and the bell button, especially if you like FromSoftware games, because every Friday is From Friday as we work our way through FromSoftware games, as well as do as much coverage as we can. And we put this right at the beginning. It's for one of our other channels, but it gives you all the information that you might be looking for. This is an SNTR update. Elden Ring will be less stressful according to a recent interview, but what does that mean about difficulty? Many people concerned this will be the easiest FromSoftware game in the lineup of all the games they've released so far. If you like these quick updates, hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss them. In an interview recently, WCCF Tech pulled this from an interview with Yashiro Kitao, and he revealed that Elden Ring was designed to be less stressful. Now, there's more at play here. I want to talk about enemy placement, map size, and mounts, because those are sort of the three categories that he broke this down into, okay? So first, enemy placement. One of the quotes here from the interview, he says, "With the game's world being so large, that can produce real depth and breadth of enjoyment, but it can also lead to unnecessary stress for some players. The dev team has been very careful to avoid that where possible, especially as the enemies are so strong. The challenge was to place enemies in a way that would keep players interested, but still provide them with low stress experience. This applies to item distribution too, as well as in-game events. Fine-tuning these placements and timings has been ongoing until the very end. Changing enemies for all times of day would have created a kind of pressure on users to play the game at various different times, and we felt this was stress our users could do without." Now, this was something covered in another interview. They said, listen, the different, having a night-day cycle is great, and there will be a small amount of enemies that only show up at night, and they will be harder than their daytime counterparts. This also lines up with things that Miyazaki said in his interview with Edge Magazine about one of the greatest challenges they dealt with was making the game hold your interest. They wanted there to be a rhythm to the gameplay. There wanted to be this consistent keeping you interested, but they also don't want it to be overwhelming and stressful to where you feel like you can't really navigate through the world. They're not saying the game's going to be easier. They're simply saying that stress of, well, I'd like to go here or there, it's just too stressful, or I'm going to lose too much. He went on to say this about massive map size and runbacks. With the map being so vast, traveling back to collect runes after dying can become an unwanted stress for the player. With that in mind, we have identified a number of difficult spots, places with lots of enemies and powerful foes, as points at which players may die and need to reattempt that challenge. The player is able to select the option of respawning very near the spot of their death for these locations. This is kind of a measure. This kind of measure is another example of the team's efforts to implement systems to mitigate player stress caused by the sheer magnitude of the game map. So they don't want you to feel like, oh my word, I got to go back through that area. This is going to be really long. It's just to go back and get my runes now instead of souls. And they didn't want that to be a pain point. So that stress and pain and sort of anxiety of like, oh, I got to go back, that's different than difficulty. And I think people need to keep that in mind. Lastly, he talks about mounts in respect of the map size. You got to have a way to get around quickly. He said, horses provide a stress-free method of traveling across the long distances the player needs to travel in the game, and that system was introduced as a means of quickly and enjoyably moving vertically upward in order to explore those higher areas. So Elden Ring will certainly be, I think, one of the biggest and most famous FromSoftware games, just from the sheer install size to the way that they've marketed, to the map size being absolutely massive. I still think this is going to be looked back on as a very special game, and they didn't want it to have some of maybe the traditional FromSoftware tropes and stress and pain points that drives player engagement either down or unnecessarily frustrates the player. You want the difficulty to be in the boss fights. You want the difficulty to be in the combat. As always, hit subscribe and the bell button, and we will see you in the next one. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. It is snowing here in Louisville, Kentucky. Absolutely thrilling my children. Hopefully you're staying warm and cozy wherever you are. Thank you guys so much for being here this morning. Make sure you are in live chat. Make sure you have smashed the like button. Every Friday morning we break down Elden Ring for now, obviously, because it's the big FromSoftware topic. Every Friday is From Friday. We hope you have enjoyed our FromSoftware coverage as well as all of the coverage this week. If you missed any of the live streams, we covered the Sea of Thieves live event, new Horizon Forbidden West gameplay, the Dying Light 2 DLC, and those VODs are all available with the same format we go through here. The opening of the stream gives you all of the goods and the information that you might be looking for, followed by lengthy discussion and debates with the audience. We had a very lively debate yesterday in Sea of Thieves, and we continue to hear from people about FromSoftware games and how they should have an easy mode or be more accessible. And this dialogue, particularly about the stress in Elden Ring, I actually think is good. I'm hearing them say all the right things. They don't want to make the game easier, but they also don't want you to feel like, my gosh, I just want to get back to where I was, or I just want to traverse through the world. And it's one of those things where you don't want somebody to be frustrated by the logistics. You want them to be either frustrated or struggling with the game's combat, with the difficulty. You know, like, as an example, there are sections in, Ori and the Blind Forest that are pretty challenging. You got to run really, really fast and run away from rushing water or, flooding lava, okay? And that's very difficult. There's these small windows of opportunity for you to fail and have to restart. Now, if you were to fail those sections and have to go all the way back and retread 5 or 10 minutes of the game just to get to that point, the stress of that fight would start to hit in a different way. You wouldn't necessarily feel like, oh, I'm failing because I'm not good at it, or I'm failing because it's too difficult. You almost feel like you're being worn down. And something that I've really enjoyed about Sekiro is that many of these more challenging boss fights at the end, I'm like right around the corner from them. So I can just keep running in and fighting them over and over and over again. So then I'm more wrestling with the game's mechanics and the difficulty and the combat, troubleshooting my own failures or my own strategies and attempts, as opposed to being like, well, now it's time to run back through X number of enemies or X number of challenges just to get back to the boss. So I like what they're saying. The fact that the sheer map size was just, they required, they wanted to give you a mount to get around. They didn't want you to feel like, oh my word, this is one of the more challenging areas. There's tons of enemies, Those Ori races were so fun. I could play a whole mode like that. I think one of the reasons that games like Ori, I remember playing through Rayman Legends and feeling the same thing. They can ratchet up the intensity and the difficulty because you're right there. You can keep trying again. You get this sense of, I've almost got it, I've got him on the ropes, as it were. That's a great feeling when you end a fight in Sekiro or Dark Souls and you're like, oh, okay, I got him. Like, it clicks, you figure it out, you've got them. You've done enough of the fight, you've done enough of the damage in the sequences to know, oh, I'm going back in. I'm getting them next time, Yo, thank you, Feed, for being here. Good to see you, Feed. Good to see everybody here this morning. Make sure you are on live chat. Make sure you have smashed the like button and chime in with your good morning ritual. Always good to see you guys. This is a good move on their part to address this. It may ease some potential player stress, says Red Demonize. Kat says, morning, Lono and chat. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope everyone has a good day. I'm actually curious what you guys think here. Elden Ring being less stressful. A good decision. Is it a good decision to make it less stressful? Yes or no? They're making the game less stressful. Not less difficult, but less stressful. Do you think that's a good decision? Is that something that you are happy to see them do in the game? Or would you prefer the old traditional runbacks, the old traditional frustrations of having to go through really treacherous and challenging areas just to get back to where you were, or just to get back to your souls or the boss fight? What's good, Nighthawk? How are you? Let's see here. Making sure we don't have any... Oh, it's a return from Amazon. I was like, what is this email? Okay. Making sure we didn't have any coffee sales yet. Coffee sales have slowed down a little bit. We've not been pushing it. The vibe and the streams have been so good. I don't like to break the vibe to do the little spiel about the coffee, like holding up the bag and talking about it. So get those coffee orders in. If you're running low on supplies, get yourself resupplied. And if you're new and you enjoy my coverage, hit subscribe. That way you can be here all throughout the week. Every Friday is From Friday. So we make sure to cover FromSoftware topics and games on Friday. Has anyone ever told you look just like Ryan Eggold from Blacklist? I think I have been told that before. I get told I look like all sorts of people. When I had long hair, I got told anybody with long hair and a beard is who I looked like. Now I don't get told that anymore. Having played the CNT, I think the game will be more difficult than people are expecting it to be, says Zuth. May not be as hard as Sekiro or Dark Souls 2, but definitely harder than Demon Souls. All I'm hearing is they are taking Dark Souls out of the game. So in your mind, Ferryman, you associate Dark Souls with not just being really, really difficult and punishing combat. It should be making you run really far, retread areas, and relive those frustrations when you're trying to get back to your boss fighter or your drop souls. That's in your mind, you think that's one and the same. So I guess I'm curious, what did you think about Sekiro's format? Because I feel like the farther I get in Sekiro, the more that's true, that I'm right around the corner from the boss fight. I'm right around the corner from when I drop my stuff. Well, you don't necessarily have souls on the ground in that game. You literally just lose your stuff when you die. So I guess that is a very different pain point. How does your Amazon link work? Is it a discount? It just supports me, Murph Dog. If you click my Amazon affiliate link before you order anything, I get a little kickback, but you don't get a discount or anything. Dark Souls 3 is my favorite. It's been criticized for too many bonfires. Well, so Dark Souls 3 had too many bonfires. It's in your mind, people have criticized it for that, but it's your favorite. It sounds to me like Elden Ring is going to follow a similar format. Like, Elden Ring gameplay isn't going to require you to be like, yeah, you got to run all the way back up that mountain to get to that boss. Yeah, you died, so here you go. Would take airbags and power steering out of cars, as that's a big change from where cars started. So Ink Sanity being funny, but in Ink Sanity's mind, this is a quality of life thing. It's not necessarily that they're making the game easier or softer. It's like, this is a quality of life thing. You don't need to make players do these sorts of things. I prefer to respawn closer to the boss than the run back was so boring in Dark Souls 1. TJ Rage says, I agree, too many. Bloodborne, Canehurst Castle boss was so far and that area was rough. So, in your mind, TJ Rage, do you think that's better? Do you think that's how FromSoftware games should be? That they should have that sense? Like, do you think this is them, abandoning their roots, as it were, or are they getting off the path of what these games, how these games should institute pain, and how they feel? I drive my car without traction control. Just because it's there doesn't make it better. TJ Rage says, yes, I like it. February is going to be an epic month for gaming. Elden Ring, Dying Light 2, and Lost Ark. Yes, it's going to be very, very good. We're very excited for all the coverage we're going to get to do with you guys. I really liked the run back, says Lambert. Learning routes felt really good back in Dark Souls 1. I felt so good finally beating him, says TJ Rage. Someone missed a shortcut in Canehurst, I think. Yeah, I was going to say, I've never heard that about Bloodborne. Is Bloodborne known for that, for big, long run bats? I've never played Bloodborne because I can't do the 30 FPS thing. We are 7 likes away from our first 100 likes, guys. Thanks for the strong start this morning. Be sure to take the poll at the top of the chat as well. I want to know what you think. They're making Elden Ring new gameplay... Well, I'm sorry. They're making Elden Ring gameplay less stressful. The title of the stream today is Elden Ring New Gameplay Info, because this was from an interview. They're talking like, hey, we don't want people to feel stress and anxiety. We don't want you to feel like you can't just go out and get back to your runes or what have you. Elden Ring will have stressful areas, but you can leave them whenever you want. That's why the game will be less stressful overall. It doesn't mean hard areas won't be highly stressful, though. Right, I think that's a good word, Marwin. It's not that they're completely removing stress from the game. It's that they're giving you options, because one of the things that is certainly true about most Souls games is they really like to take you and make you sort of feel cramped, restricted, and contained, and you kind of have to stay on that path. Even though it's not necessarily linear and there's all these arching paths, you certainly feel like, well, I can't go anywhere else. I mean, this is where I'm supposed to go. There's optional bosses and areas for sure, but not like an open world where you're like, well, I'm going to dip out and come back later kind of a thing. I'm a Souls fan in and out. They're my favorite games, so I feel like they can't screw the game up for me. So you think it'll be just fine no matter what. Demon Souls has long runbacks, and I can't stand it, says African Jedi. Anyone else see that no, I don't care about that. Plus less stress definitely doesn't mean less challenging. Yeah. Eugene says the dungeons and legacy areas 100% will maintain traditional Souls stresses. Right, like once you're down in a dungeon, once you're down in an area like that, it's going to maintain that traditional sense of like it's cramped, it's claustrophobic. As I always say, you're making me fight in a closet. Like there's no room here, you know? I can't do anything. You feel like Elden Ring will be the underdog. In what ways do you feel like Elden Ring will be the underdog? You mean in the realm of FromSoftware games? You think it's going to be the underdog? I think it's going to start to take the crown of best. Right now, most people pick Bloodborne. And after that, you have a lot of people picking between like Sekiro and Dark Souls 3 or Dark Souls 2 and 1. Like it kind of trickles down. But Bloodborne more consistently takes the crown as best. I feel like Elden Ring is going to take that crown in a lot of people's minds. I'm a diehard Souls guy, and more options are always a good thing. The runbacks to the boss, I always used to get more souls to get stronger. I do not look at it as a horrible thing. Well, you certainly could still do that in Elden Ring. It's not like you're going to have to go right back to the boss. You could always be like, well, let me get some souls on the way back here. Do you think Elden Ring will lead to a new sequel? That's a good question. My theories about Elden Ring are that they have plans to make this a more ongoing game. I have theories about live service. A lot of people don't like my theories, but when I look at the scope of the game and the size and the map, I don't know. I get my spidey senses tingling. My spidey sense is tingling. We're going to be talking about this next week, I'm sure. There's already reports now coming out that if you want to get everything 100% done in Horizon Forbidden West, it's going to take multiple hundreds of hours. And I think they're slow boiling that frog, baby. They're getting people ready to consider games that are action-adventure, even RPG games like Elden Ring. I think people are going to slowly start to think of these games in the realm of live service, and that they go and they go and they go. And so I think I actually do. I have theories about Elden Ring. I think they've got plans to make it a more ongoing game. I don't see them doing a sequel. I see them riding Elden Ring for a couple of years, and then what you'd likely see next would be a sequel to Sekiro, I think. That's what I think. I believe when Elden Ring comes out, the hype is going to drop, and people will just forget about it. No, that you're not paying attention if you think that's true. I mean, old FromSoftware games get tons of viewership and support on YouTube. FromSoftware fans are very loyal. Traditionally as a franchise, it's one of the most successful. So what you're saying is not really in line with what the market does right now with FromSoftware property. And I don't see anything from gameplay to information to the technical tests to the embargoed footage. I don't see anything to support your theory at all. It sounds like you're just trying to get a reaction more than making a genuine intellectual statement. I think Elden Ring is actually going to change the landscape of accessibility in gaming. They put things in Elden Ring that can make things less stressful, but the diehard fans can choose not to use it. Yeah, I mean, you can play a Dark Souls game right now and go look up a magic build, and everybody's like, yeah, magic builds are easy button. They're easy clap. So, like, I definitely think you can choose not to do that in many games. I mean, I beat the owl in Sekiro the other day with no shinobi arts and no spirits or whatever they're called, no tools, no shinobi arts, no prosthetic, just my sword. People are like, you did that on hard mode. Like, why weren't you using anything? Well, I didn't have anything, and I could have been using Mortal Blade on him, and I wasn't. I was just doing pure sword. That's all I used. So you can certainly play these games and not tap into the things that are going to make them significantly easier. Casting, magic, summoning a friend, you know, shortcutting back to areas. You know, those types of things, I think, more often than not, are going to be avoided by people that don't want, you know, the easy route. From an outside standpoint, the people participating in hyping the game who aren't FromSoftware fans are just going to lose interest. Well, I mean, I definitely think that there are people, okay, so that's not necessarily a bad take. I think there are people right now, streamers and YouTubers, who are traditionally not playing these games, and they're going to dive in, and it's going to be their first one. You might be right. They might lose interest. They might be like, this is too hard. This is too frustrating. I'm getting too salty on stream. I just embrace the fact that people like to see me get angry. Like, I've just accepted it. Like, I'm going to get ticked off. I'm going to rant. I'm going to rave. I'm going to complain. And there's going to be some of, like, the know-it-alls in chat that try to poke and try to provoke, but most people are just like, you'll get it, bro. You'll get it. You're all right. You shake it off, you know, and then I jump back in. I was exceptionally annoyed with the owl the first 15 to 20 minutes that I tried him, and then I came back 2 weeks later and I beat him in 45 minutes. Like, that's just part of the pain. That's just part of the process. You might be right. There's probably a lot of, like, sideline fair weather fans, right? Like, oh, it's going to be a big booming game for a week. I'm going to play this game. Well, then they're going to fight a boss and lose 8 times in a row, and they're not going to want to play. See, something that streamers don't understand is that failure is really enjoyable, and most of them just aren't cut out for it. They don't like failing in front of an audience. It gets to them. If Elden Ring takes off, we could see a Dark Souls reboot with better graphics and better mechanics and gameplay. That would be lit. I mean, yeah, the old games getting remastered and brought back is certainly a possibility. I don't think any time in the near future they would do that, though. Dark Souls 3 Catacombs are made easy with clubs and blunt weapons, but people use whatever they like. What did Derek say about runbacks? I didn't read it. Long runbacks can not always be a total fun killer. It worked in old school games, but in this era, it can really turn an otherwise enjoyable game into a hate play. Right, you're almost vengefully running back. You're like, this stupid game, right? Like, you're angry as you're running back, which, again, that kills the fun. Like, here's the danger of making a game super stressful. Like, yeah, you got to really do a big run back, okay? What ends up happening is it's a very subversive, understated thing, or it's an unstated thing. You're making it unenjoyable to be in the game. Right? Now, Lambert's saying I love runbacks. Other people are like, oh, I love runbacks. But I gotta tell you, I bet you if you polled a lot of people, they'd be like, just make the fights hard. You don't have to make me run a marathon every time I die. Yo, what's good, Icebreaker? What up, cheeks? I think running back sometimes is a good thing. It can be a good thing, but I think if there's too much of it, that's when you subversively change the player into somebody who's like, I don't even like being in this world. Like, I'm not appreciating the beauty or the fights or the baddies or the ads because you're making me run back all the way through. I remember getting really irritated about that my first time playing Hollow Knight. I was like, I don't want to run back through that area just to fight some surprise boss. Like, what? Do you think we'll see massive bosses for boss fights like the Ancient Wyvern or mechanic-based huge bosses in Elden Ring? It'll probably be a mix of both. From everything we're hearing, they borrowed from pretty much all the games. If you're enjoying the discussion this morning, we want to hear from you. Hit subscribe so you can talk in chat. Subscribing's totally free. Every Friday is From Friday around here. We talk a game in the morning, obviously Elden Ring, and I'm working through Sekiro in the afternoon. It's my first ever playthrough, so take the poll at the top of the chat as well. We want to know what you think. Elden Ring new gameplay info came out saying it'll be less stressful, not necessarily easier. Do you think that's a good idea? Less runbacks, less daunting areas of like, oh, I can't get back to my souls. In this case, they're called runes. Giving the player options of avoidance. You know, they want the game to be less stressful, not easier. but less stressful. Do you think that is a good decision? That's what the poll at the top of the chat is about. The few where it took multiple tries were very annoying. The Demon Souls runbacks were rough, but 95% of the bosses are a joke and easily killed first try. Right, but you got to consider, Eugene, you played Sekiro first. So the average person that goes into a game like that is not having your experience. You got to consider how many times those runbacks were something they had to experience. It was something they had to deal with, right? That's not uncommon. It seems like Elden Ring will have easier levels than harder bosses. Godric looked ridiculous from the gameplay demo, says Souls Master. You know what? I'm here for that sometimes, Souls Master. Like, I like having really challenging... There's something special about a game where you dread going forward. You know it's going to be hard or terrible or awful. If it's always like that, I think that's a problem. I don't want every area to have a sense of dread. You can have every area having a sense of threat and danger, but not a sense of dread. One or two areas having a sense of dread. Sure. So yeah, I like the idea of the bosses being the primary source of the pain and the frustration, not like, I gotta run back through 18 enemies that are, cheap and fast, and by the time I get to the boss, I've lost all my stuff. Like, that's annoying. Especially if you didn't unlock the shortcuts. Yeah, see, I have a unique experience in these games. Because as a streamer, you guys are constantly telling me where the shortcuts are. Oh, that's a huge advantage to smooth out all the rough edges of the game when you got people telling you where the dadgum shortcuts are. There were a few that took multiple tries, and it was very annoying. Yeah. The bosses and the mobs will be Dark Souls hard, but there will be many more spawn points near dungeons and area bosses. That's what the article indicated to me. That's what the interview indicated to me. Based on the article, less stressful equals the game is bigger and players have more to do. I doubt anything about it is easier than anything else. They said the same with Sekiro. They said Sekiro was going to be bigger and less stressful. Oh. Did they say that? That's mean. That's mean if they said that. Oh. I need to read the interview. That'll give me a good laugh. Yeah, Sekiro's going to be less stressful. The frick did you say? That's good. I needed that laugh this morning. There were loads of Marika statues in the closed network test. Okay. I think the allure of some Souls fans was the fact that not everyone would have the skill or patience to finish a Souls game. Oh, there is 100%, like, don't get me wrong here. Like, I'm drinking my Rageless Roast this morning. Do we have any Rageless Roast orders yet? Let's get some coffee orders going. Coffee orders have slowed down. I've not been pitching it all that often, and we're noticing that I'm not. So let's get some coffee orders going. Anyway, I'm tasting what we're going to be probably using for the spring summer flavor. That's good. Okay, so let me say a few things about that. Like Souls players that, they take a lot of pride in beating the game and being one of the few people that has like the patience and the ability to beat the game or whatever. Okay. I do think there is an overwhelming sense of pride that comes from beating games that are this hard. It makes you think, oh my gosh, I did something so special, so magnificent. And one of the reasons for that is it's really not that easy, right? I heard somebody talk about this once in football. They said scoring a touchdown is just so incredibly hard. That's why these guys have this burst of adrenaline and they go crazy and they want to celebrate so much, because it is so stinking hard to score a touchdown. Like, you have this burst of, elation and adrenaline. And certainly when you finally beat a boss in a Dark Souls game, or you finally beat the entire game, there's this burst of like relief and elation and excitement. Now, those feelings can, I think, turn sour and turn prideful and arrogant and make a person sort of drink from the cup of hubris. And they can start to think that they're better than other people or superior or whatever. And then, since they're now attaching that to their identity, that feels threatened if there's any sense of like, oh, it'll be easier, it'll be more accessible, it'll be like whatever, right? Now, I think there are plenty of very good and very strong arguments against easy mode in FromSoftware games. I happen to be one of the people that makes those arguments. I happen to be one of the people that is prepared for all these armchair journalists that aren't really journalists to start arguing for easy mode under the guise of accessibility for impaired players. Like, I'm anticipating that argument, right? I've already pushed against it. I've already shown the underhanded nature of that argumentation when it comes out, because it's going to be made by people who are underhanded, right? They're going to be trying to ride in on the steed of a white knight for people that, are motor impaired, and they're going to try and smuggle in easy mode, right? There are plenty of very good arguments to be made against easy mode, right? Against easy mode in these games. Plenty of good arguments. Some of the worst arguments, though, stem from the pride and the hubris that I just talked about, right? That's not a good argument. If you want to argue against easy mode, let's argue about identity, substance, game design, right? Let's argue about how, like, most games don't really do difficulty all that well anyways. They just make everything, like, have no health and you have tons of health. Like, that's not really a spectrum of difficulty. That's not true difficulty, okay? So there are plenty of good arguments to be made against easy mode, but I never want to co-sign and sign up and agree with I would call them the zealots, I guess. I like that word. I've been using that word recently because I think it's a good word to describe certain people. There are FromSoftware zealots out there that think they're part of some elite club in gaming and they've achieved some height of greatness that, like, other people haven't, and therefore their argue against easy mode is, well, you need to ascend to where I have ascended, peasant, and that's not good argumentation. That's gatekeeping. It's arrogant. It's like, I don't ever really like gaming culture, streaming culture, content creator culture. It's full of enough, like, hubris, drunk, self-righteous people. Like, we have enough of those people already. Like, we've hit our quota, okay? They always want to wax, like, pseudo-moralistic on Twitter and scold people and act like they're these I don't even know what they are. They're basically like pharisaical content creators who think they're waging some righteous war for goodness. They're nauseating, okay? So I don't ever want to be lined up with that, right? This is a Dark Souls guy, but the Thor on your shirt looks like Slave Knight Gael. Well, hey, this comes from 80s Tees, one of our sponsors. You can get a huge discount if you use code Lono at 80stees.com. You know, they got plenty of Marvel shirts, Star Wars shirts, video game shirts. So head over there, and those are disc plates, by the way. We got the Elden Ring one and the Dark Souls one over here. So be sure to use the disc plate link in the description below or the disc plate command if you want to snag some. So I always want to be careful. Like, when I argue, like, against easy mode, or I argue against, like, these games need to maintain their difficulty, I'm not aligning myself with the FromSoftware zealots that are like, no, you are a scrub and you're bad and you need to get good. I mean, we had plenty of we had plenty of those Sea of Thieves zealots that showed up yesterday that are like, you can't do this to this game, just get good. Like, I'm not playing it. I'm simply telling you what would make me play the game, right? Now, my feedback on Sea of Thieves is very different than people asking for an easy mode in the Souls game, because I have simply said That's something that I think would create better balance and better, cohesiveness in the game. I'm not even saying take PvP out of the game. I'm saying make it more balanced, right? Make risk reward elements for people that want to engage in PvP so they don't just grief all dadgum day, right? That I think is fair feedback. Like, your game seems dissonant, your game seems imbalanced. That's not the same as saying, can you add an easy mode so that I can beat the game and fight the bosses? Like, those are two completely different argumentation, methods. Part of the reasons I played those games was because I was tired of those people, says Eugene. Now I can tell them to STFU, the game's not as difficult as you claim and your achievement isn't that special. Eugene literally went on a righteous crusade's a terrible word to use because it's attached to some bad things. I can't think of a better word, though. You went on a journey, right, to set out to say these games can't be that hard. Now, I have to say, starting with Sekiro and using wikis and even saying that you're waiting to play Elden Ring until there's wikis out, I think that weakens some of your argument. I do. I think that I think your position is not bad. I don't think it's ill-formed, but I think it's got weak spots. Every position's got weak spots, right? I think the weak spots in your position is you started with the hardest game to a certain degree, and you used wikis. So it's like, come on, man. Like, you removed one of the primary causes of frustration, slow progression, redundancy, irritation, struggling, right? I hate wandering around. Right, and I do too. That's why I stopped playing Salt and Sanctuary. Salt and Sanctuary wasn't linear enough. I just got irritated. I was like, I don't know where the frick to go. What was the other one that I played? Was it Death's Gambit that did that to me? There was another one where I was like, just tell me where to go. Give me a little blinking arrow, and I'll go fight a boss for an hour, and if it takes me an hour to beat him, so be it, but I at least want to know that I'm going the right way, right? I'm the same way. I am. I'm just saying that's a weak point in your argument. If you're going to claim these games aren't that hard after using a wiki, I don't know. I think that weakens your argument slightly. FromSoftware is disconnected from Western audiences because of their culture. If FromSoftware had a Western connection, we'd have the things we want in their games. Well, I was talking to my friend about this because he's Korean. And I was talking to him about the differences between Western games and Japanese games especially. I said there seems to be a philosophy of information. There's a difference. It seems as though, in games like this, especially FromSoftware, I'd love to interview somebody about this at the company. My observation as a Westerner, as someone who grew up in the West, my observation is that your philosophy and even sort of maybe even your cultural influence of like honor, shame, and tradition, it seems as though that's influenced your development to the point that I have to earn the information or find it myself. You will not give it to me. Knowledge must be earned, almost as if there's a respect for truth. Carl Jung, I believe, said, beware of knowledge that isn't earned. And he was talking about people that were having like mystical experiences with like drugs and becoming like enlightened and having these crazy experiences that changed their outlook on life and their philosophies. And he was like, you need to be very careful with knowledge that isn't earned. You didn't earn that knowledge. You didn't study. You didn't, meditate and read books. You got access to some other realm or world or channel of information you didn't necessarily earn, right? And so there seems to be a philosophy in these games of you must earn the knowledge. We will not give it to you. We will give you some, but not very much. And in the West, we seem to be more inclined to say, you need to give me the information and then I will act upon it. I will then move forward with that information. Now, some of this is probably influenced by our ideas about rights and entitlements. Like, I have a right to things. I have, I'm entitled to know these things. That's probably part of it, right? Also, the prevailing, undercurrent of religion and philosophy in the West is very much like you're giving people knowledge. Here, take the knowledge and then live according to it. And that's going to influence people as they grow. They're like, well, why wouldn't we give them this information? Why wouldn't we give them this knowledge, right? Here you go. Now you know what to do. And it seems as though in their philosophical approach to development, FromSoftware, maybe not all Japanese developers, but as Japanese developers, they're like, no. Knowledge is out there and must be discovered. Go find it. You're saying, oh, it's buried in obscure places. One thing I've also noticed about Asian cinema, Eugene, is a lot of times their stories end very sorrowfully. They end sad. They don't end on a positive note, right? It's not like, oh, yay, everything's all roses. They seem to have a more, I wouldn't say depressed. They have a sad or more realistic, maybe slightly, I wouldn't say cynical, but they have a very different view of how life goes. You might not have all the information. You might get blindsided by something. You might not fall in love. The person that you're in love with might betray you or kill you. Like, their cinema, their approach to storytelling feels very different than ours. They end more realistically, right? Like, ultimately all of life ends in death, and their movies are more of a representation of that. Usually, Western cinema stops short, They lived happily ever after. No, they didn't. One day, the princess died and got sick. One day, the prince ran away because he was sick of her. Like, there's all kinds of, things that are avoided when you watch other cinema and other stories. And yeah, the prince leaves. He betrays her. Or she betrays him. She leaves. She's like, I don't like this guy anymore. Whatever. We stop short in Western storytelling. So to me, it's like, I get where you're coming from. It's like, what on earth? Why wouldn't you just tell me this information? Philosophically, it's driven by a different idea. Their idea is, well, no, you've got to find it. Part of the journey is discovery. You've got to go out there and find the information. We're not going to give it to you. Am I saying that's good or bad development? No, I'm simply seeking to understand why they do it. You teach them how to find the information or nothing. Red Dead Redemption disagrees. And what do you mean it disagrees? Been watching for a long time and enjoying the content, so I thought I should support and get on the Frickmas Blend train before it's gone. Oh, you ordered some? Thank you so much, Uchiha. Let me check the email here. Hey, look at that. Couple of coffee orders. That's what I like to see. 2 coffee orders coming in. A dark roast and a Frickmas to Uchiha. Thank you so much. You will be very pleased. Those are 2 of our more populars. And a light roast to Blinky. Light roast is actually my favorite. I think it's the most drinkable. So thank you. 2 coffee orders already. Get those coffee orders in. We appreciate that support. Keep in mind that, side note, this is not some sponsor that you're supporting. Like, this is ours. This is in my house. My wife and kids bag it and ship it to you with thank you notes. So you're supporting a small family-owned business when you order that. So we appreciate that very much. I mean, if you're buying and ordering coffee, you might as well try ours at least once. And be warned, when you try it, it's gonna convert you. You'll have a hard time drinking other coffee afterwards. Then you find Yokotaro games. Those are beautiful sadness. Yeah. Check out this guy. He really puts his work behind the videos and he makes on the lore for Soulsborne. You'll probably learn more watching his video than by playing the whole Dark Souls trilogy. You're down for the change? I'm telling you. Let's see here. Bloodborne doesn't tell you crap, says Ghostface. Figure it out in death is the motto. The statue sitting by the area isn't a hint, especially if you don't have the emote yet. Oh, you're talking about something specific. Solid Snake says he is right about the coffee. I'm okay with an easy mode if it's well balanced. Hint, it never is. That's the thing with most difficulty spectrums in most video games. Right? Most difficulty spectrums in video games, they simply don't do anything special. Like, I loved Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and I love Spider-Man, but their easy mode is literally like you can't die, and the enemies die faster. And then what do you think happens when you ratchet it up? You die super fast, and the enemies don't. Like, what? Like, turning everybody into just like an absolute, I don't even know what you call them, just a sponge of health. You know what I mean? How much are the disc plates? Well, with my discount, you'd have to, I could tell you. With my discount, it's actually a pretty good discount. You get like the first two, discount, and then you get the, if you go more than that, you get even bigger discount. Well, we're all about to be sitting in a reality where Lono is 6'1" shoutcasting the world. What are you talking about? Here we go. Let me pull it up, and I'll add some to the cart so you can get an idea. So if you click on my link, and then I'm going to add Iron Man to the cart, right? So a medium is 44, a large is 89, extra large is 150. So 50, 90, 150. That's the pricing structure. 50, 90, 150. Now, when you get the $90 one, you save $23 with my link. You save $23 with my link. So always make sure and go to your cart and see total savings, right? Because it's giving a 26% discount. I see the discount code in the cart. So make sure that you do that if you order any, all right? So there we go. 50, 90, 150 is the pricing structure. And you get a pretty nice discount, 26% if you order a couple. It's anime stuff. That's not difficulty, that's just hiding stuff. Okay, but see, and I think that's where you define difficulty purely at a mechanical level. It's got to be, and I'm not saying mechanics, I'm just saying at a mechanical level. How much damage does the boss do? How fast is the boss? What are the boss's attacks like? What blah blah, how many phases does the boss have? At a mechanical level, you think in difficulty. I think for them, they also think difficulty is one of discovery. Do you have the patience, the curiosity, the awareness to like wander around and find things and piece things together? I'm not saying it's good. I'm simply saying they just define difficulty more broadly than you do. I think they look at difficulty and say, no, part of the difficulty is going to be that you have to take the time to look, peruse, browse, and discover. That's part of the process. I think an easy mode for Souls series would be reduced health and damage plus increased damage and starting health stamina, maybe an increase in Souls gains. Yeah, but that would be so ridiculous. There's probably somebody right now that could give you a mod that's easy mode, and it would make the game stupid. It would just make the game dumb. Like, you just run in and you barely take any damage, and they take a ton of damage. That's not how the games are designed. They're not designed to have health and damage on, like, dials like that. That's not how they design their games. Truth be told, let me let you in on a little secret. That's not unique to FromSoftware, by the way. That's true of most games. Most games aren't set up that way. They just do it to appease the masses. It makes the games run incredibly stupid. I mean, I had 8 different people the day we were playing God of War on PC. I had a ton of different people outlining all the problems with Give Me God of War. Do I have a Steam code? There's never been Steam codes, homie. Not to my knowledge. Tons of people ask why the game doesn't have an easy mode, yet they don't understand what an easy mode would even look like. Is Elden Ring getting delayed to March due to spoilers? That is a parody account on Twitter, Hades North, that tricked you. Well, maybe they didn't trick you, but they caused you to come here and ask that question. That's not a real account. They're just messing with people. It has been publicly stated by the developers that Elden Ring will not be delayed again. It has gone gold. It will not be delayed again. Now, they may have to shut the online off if they can't fix the, there was the Dark Souls exploit. Are the FromSoftware PC servers still offline? Is that still a thing? $50 tip from Sven. Got a promo at work and a nice holiday nice holiday bonus. So I thought I'd show some appreciation for the dude. It keeps me going through the rough days. Thanks for everything. That's very kind, Sven. Thank you for the $50 tip. That's very generous. And congratulations on the promotion, Sven. They're still offline. Okay, people are saying they're still offline. By the way, if you're enjoying the show, there are free ways to support the show. I do this Monday through Friday. Variety Gaming News Talk Show. Hit subscribe, hit the bell button, hit the like button, give the video a thumbs up. Those are free ways to support what I do, okay? And every Friday is From Friday. It's something that we started a while back. I played through my very first Dark Souls 3 playthrough. Later this afternoon, I'll be continuing my very first playthrough of Sekiro. Obviously, we are very much looking forward to Elden Ring. So we cover a lot of Elden Ring here, but we also, just yesterday, we covered Dying Light 2's DLC plans. We covered the Sea of Thieves stream. This week we've covered Horizon Forbidden West new gameplay, a whole host of things. We even covered the new Elden Ring gameplay from the Taipei Game Show this week. So make sure you are subscribed. Let's hit the 200 like milestone on the video. That helps out the channel. If you want to support directly, you can hit the $ at the bottom of chat. That can let you send a tip or become a paying member. Paying members can participate in our Discord extra rooms. We've got all these extra things you can do. And we have a shoutcasting sort of esports channel. You can submit challenges for me there. So we got a lot of different ways to support the channel. You know, the shirt I'm wearing is always from a sponsor, the disc plates, the coffee, all of that. So make sure and take the poll at the top of the chat. We want to know what you think. Elden Ring being less stressful, is this a good decision? 74% of you are saying yes. So thank you for the interaction with the poll at the top of the chat. We always want to hear from you. Once you subscribe, you can talk in chat, and we love to hear from new members of the community. I have thoroughly enjoyed interacting with the FromSoftware community. You guys are awesome. You guys have some, unpleasant grumps in your community, but I think every community does. And we tend to kick those people out if they're nasty or rude. One of the things I noticed was people could be kind of nasty and kind of condescending, but as soon as we told them it was my first playthrough in Dark Souls 3 or Sekiro, their entire tone changed. It was like, what the frick is this guy doing? And it was like, well, it's his first time through the game. And it's like, oh my goodness, bless your heart. Like, you guys are an interesting community. You're very kind and generous. Once you realize it's like my first time through the game, and I love that. I love that turn that I've seen so many times. They're like, what is this moron doing? And it's like, well, it's his first time. They're like, oh, you poor thing. We're here to help if you need it. You guys are great. I have really enjoyed meeting all of you, and look forward to meeting more, I'm sure, with the Elden Ring coverage forthcoming. What do you think of Horizon Forbidden West? I think it looks fantastic. I think it looks beautiful. Next week we'll be covering, there's new information about the game. PlayStation 4 footage was revealed. It looks immaculate. Some information came out about time for completionism. We'll cover that. We got a lot to talk about next week about Horizon Forbidden West, but I don't want to hijack today's show to talk about it. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure your bell button's checked. And later on you can watch me fight. Who am I fighting later? The monk? The monk with the big, huge stick that's in all the promotional materials. We can be savage, says a man Finney. Yeah, you can. You can be a little. You can be a little savage. It was my favorite. It happened multiple times in one stream. Like their whole tone changed. They're like, "Why is he doing that?" And someone's like, "It's his first time, bro." It's his first time. They're like, "Oh my gosh, okay." People are always like, you're doing really great for a first-timer. They're always really encouraging. You're doing great. You're doing great for a first-timer. And they're like, man, this guy, he's having a rough go. I will say I was pretty proud of myself for how quickly I beat the owl. I was. I went in the first week, and I only had about 20 minutes left in stream. He frustrated the fire out of me. I was so irritated. And then the next week, I came back 2 weeks later, and I beat him in 45 minutes. With no shinobi arts and no prosthetic, no tools, nothing, just sword. Like, that's a pretty legendary defeat, I gotta say. We should probably try and go clip that. Oh, man. As a certified FromSoft fanboy, I can agree some people of our community are kind of toxic. And this person says, in the Discord especially. Well, I'll tell you what. Get in our Discord. Our community is super dope, super welcoming, and we have all kind of rooms in the Discord for different games. If you're looking for people to connect with in Elden Ring, and maybe you feel like some of the other communities and gatherings are a little nasty, a little toxic, we don't tolerate that here. So find a happy home here. There's going to be plenty of people here playing Elden Ring. I'm looking forward to diving in. It'll be a mainstay on the channel for a while, and maybe even having community days and stuff where I play with you guys, multiple platforms. Who knows? Maybe I'll have multiple characters. I don't know. I did that before in the past with another game. Maybe we do it with this game. We'll see. So make sure you're plugged in here. All right. Make sure you're connected. Get involved. Right. Commit. Elden Ring is criminally underpriced. I don't know about that. There are people criticizing the game saying it wasn't worth $60 because they reused animations. Like, apparently, every sword swing needed to be completely recoded. I love Souls games. I just hate not knowing where to go next. I probably would have never found this channel if the Rainbow Six Extraction servers didn't go down. Well, howdy do. Welcome. Yeah, Darkstar. I remember playing Salt and Sanctuary. Salt and Sanctuary is like a side-scroller Souls game, and I didn't like not knowing where to go. I was like, bro, I will beat my head against the wall if I'm going through an area that I know I'm supposed to go through. I'll do it. I will commit. I spent like an hour on a boss in Salt and Sanctuary. But when I go left, down, right, up, and I can't tell where I'm supposed to go, and I just keep dying, homie, no. I get so annoyed. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going the right way. How will you be juggling Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring coverage? Well, when Horizon Forbidden West comes out, we'll have about a week. We'll have about a week to try to beat it. We'll try to really, really push. And we'll see. We'll see. Too bad you gave up on Salt and Sanctuary. The game is great. Listen, with From Fridays and the success of FromSoftware coverage on this channel, who knows? In a year, we can go and play all those offshoot games, you know? Somebody said on Thursdays, you could call it like almost From Friday, right? It's like, hey, it's almost From Friday. You know, tomorrow's From Friday. It's almost From Friday, and we're going to play through games that are not made by FromSoftware, but they could be, you know? And we'll play through games like Salt and Sanctuary. It's got its sequel. You know, there's games like Lies of P coming out, Black Myth Wukong, what's the one? Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. When does Salt and Sacrifice release? I have no idea. I don't know. Sometime this year. Yo, good morning, Hercules. I was having fun on Demon Souls until I walked down a hallway and thought I was making progress, and a pack of like 6 wolves killed me in 0.25 seconds. Oh, the wolves. They can die. According to a recent interview, game director Miyazaki said, even though the main story is 30 hours, the major content of Elden Ring will be optional. Now, how does that not line up with what I'm saying, man? I think they're treating this game differently. I think I don't know. I think they're laying the groundwork for live service. I know live service is a dirty word to some of you, but Miyazaki said they're open to live service. Now, somebody was good to push back and say that thank you to all the new subs today. Holy moly, so many new subs. Thank you for clicking that subscribe button. It's free to click subscribe, and you guys are wailing on that button today. Thank you and welcome. We are going to hit 11,000 subs. We just hit 10,000, and we're going to roll over to 11K. Jiminy Christmas. I'm looking forward to Black Myth Wukong. We almost covered it this week because they revealed some new footage and some new capture methods, but we decided not to. It wasn't quite enough. We might cover that next week. If the news gets dry, next week we'll cover some Black Myth Wukong. I don't think that's going to happen. I think as soon as we get into February, it's going to be full steam ahead. We're going to be we're not even going to know what to cover. There'll be too much. It'll be insane. Live service is great. Games as service is what sucks, though. How do you distinguish the difference between a live service and a game as service? They seem so similar to me. You know what I mean? Imagine if Microsoft bought FromSoftware. Oh, FromSoftware would not allow that. No. You honestly think that FromSoftware would want to be owned by an American-owned company? I don't think so. I do not think so. That would be like Nintendo property getting bought by Microsoft. It's just not going to happen. There's cultural pride there. There's history. There's way too much working against that. I just don't think so. No. I just got Monster Hunter Rise for my Switch. It really cut down all the stuff that irritated me about World, enjoying it so far. Yeah, I've heard good things about Monster Hunter Rise. I can't get into the Monster Hunter content loop. I just can't do it. I can't do it. It's so like, it just feels like a meat grinder, and not in a good way, you know? I just don't like it. I do not like it. $0.10 Chinese. So is that who owns FromSoft? Bandai's the publisher, but who owns FromSoft right now? They're owned by Kadokawa? I think because of the legend about the difficulty of the Souls franchise, a lot of people don't even try. I would have almost missed the Dark Souls 3, and I've now finished it for a second time. You know what's funny about that, Adam? If you would have told me a couple of years ago that I was primarily covering FromSoftware games and MMOs, I'd have been like, no. Because I traditionally did not play those types of games. The fact that a FromSoftware game will stand as a potential threat to this channel's variety. Like, Elden Ring might cannibalize the channel. I'm just going to warn you guys, okay? We're not going to let that happen. I'm being somewhat serious and somewhat joking. The fact that that's even a possibility is crazy to me. Because I avoided these games like the plague. I remember playing Call of Duty, and my friend Cold Blooded was like, you guys have got to try Dark Souls, man. He's like, it took me 4 hours to beat this boss. It was amazing. I'm like, that sounds freaking terrible. I was like, I wouldn't want to do that. What? He's like, oh, no, man. I feel so good when you finally beat him, man. It's awesome. That's how Cole talked. And I was like, no, dude. No, thank you. I get too ragey in Call of Duty. I'm not going to be alive. I'll have a brain aneurysm, right? And, yeah. It was like, you know, all these years later now, I'm loving it. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with Sekiro because Sekiro is mean. It is mean to you, okay? It's like, hey, we know you think that you're good and that you've come a long way, but you haven't really at all. So here, fight a shinobi, right? Like, what? Like, they're mean to you. They really subvert your sense of accomplishment in that game very quickly, like that. I got better and better and better in Dark Souls 3, and I felt that directly represented in the boss fights. Like, when I almost beat Pontiff Sullivan on my third try, I think that was because I had gotten better at the game. But in Sekiro, they're like, no, you don't have a freaking clue what you're doing. I mean, I know you feel like you did. Sure, you beat Madame Butterfly. Yeah. Sure, you beat the Headless Ape. Yeah. Sure, you beat the monk, the ghost monk or whatever. No. Here, fight the owl. Like, every time they introduce a boss, like, you feel like you don't know what the frick you're doing. So your confidence is like only there for a moment. It's a very different experience. So I have like a love-hate relationship with Sekiro. Like, I love the way the combat feels. I love the sense of accomplishment. Like, when Genichiro So Genichiro, I thought everybody was hyping him up needlessly because I was whooping him. I was absolutely whooping on Genichiro. And all of a sudden he had his lightning phase. And it really hurt my morale. It was like the first time I played the game way back, when Madame Butterfly came back to life, it murdered my morale. I was like, I finally get her down and you're playing some kind of a trick? You're playing some kind of a freaking joke on me? What? I was angry, right? I felt very similar with Genichiro because there was 2 death blows. I got the 2 death blows, and I was like, okay. And they're like, oh wait, hang on though. Here it's lightning round, like quite literally, lightning round. And I almost gave up out of pure not frustration. I just felt like defeated. It was so demoralizing. It was like, what? Then I got to him. I only got to lightning round 3 times. And on that 3rd time, I just absolutely wailed on him. I got the lightning parry. I just beat the tar out of him, and it felt amazing. So I have a love-hate relationship with the game, because I wouldn't have had that sense and I wouldn't have had that feeling if the game had not manipulated me. Does that make sense? Like, Sekiro manipulates you into being so like, come on, come on, like playing you as a fool. And then you have to overcome that sense of getting tripped up or that sense of trickery or getting demoralized. And it makes the victory a little sweeter. You're like, frick you, bro. Like you have, I take it personal. I get very angry when that kind of a thing happens. At that point, you've paced your heals on 2 phases, and now you have to get even better at the first 2 phases. Yeah. How does it manipulate you? How is it not manipulative to establish the rules of death blow, and you go to fight Madame Butterfly, and there's 1 death blow, and you kill her, and she's like, oh, you puppy. You're just a puppy. She comes back to life. And then you fight Genichiro, and it's like, he has 2 death blows, and he's tough, and you beat him, and you're like, yeah. And they're like, you think you beat him? Oh, you're stupid. Boom, lightning round. That manipulates you. It messes with you, right? You think, oh man, what happened? What about the Nameless King having 2 health bars? I'm not saying that the other games don't in similar fashion manipulate you. Understand, I'm not saying it like a negative way, but what I'm saying is, don't sit here and pretend that Sekiro doesn't mess with you. It subverts your expectations. Do you know what I do from here on out? When I kill a boss, I don't breathe a sigh of relief until all the stuff pops up. All the rewards pop up. Then I know it's over. Like, when I killed the ape and cut his head off, I was like, nah, he ain't dead. I was like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you won't get fooled again. Yeah, no, you ain't fooling me again. When that ape was laying there, I was like, nah, he's getting back up. You know, let me check my nails while I wait here. Come on, get up, dum-dum. I knew it. I knew. So from now on, when I kill a boss in Sekiro, I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Faker, get up. I'm like poking him with my sword. Get up, Faker. And then I get all my stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's over. The ape shinobi execution was the only thing that got me. Yeah, you cut his dadgum head off. How is that not the end? How's not that the end of the road? You know, you literally decapitate him. You caught the George W. reference? Should have said fool me once, fool me twice, Jiminy freaking Christmas. Yeah, maybe. That could be my version of the saying. And then we got the Gang 8 boss. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that's how they get you. What they're constantly doing in Sekiro is they're upsetting your sense of accomplishment. Do you know what I'm saying? They upset your sense of accomplishment. Yeah, you beat Madame Butterfly and the drunkard, and You know, that's all fine and well and good, but here, fight a salad shooter in a closet. And you're like, what? And you're like, ding, 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 ding. You're like, oh my gosh. When you break his posture, you're like, oh, I get it. And then you go fight the owl. And he's a shinobi, so the whole fight's different. When he mickeries you, you feel genuinely insulted. It's like, what? Excuse me? What did you just do to me? Less stressful could easily translate to quality of life improvements when we're talking about FromSoftware games. Mark, I take it from the interviews about the Elden Ring new gameplay info. That's what I take it as. Sekiro reminds me a lot of Tenchu. Thank you for the $5 tip fee, Moa. What? It reminds you a lot of Tenchu. I don't know what that is. I heard that Asian MMOs can be hard while also super grindy, but fun and addictive. Well, there's a Korean MMO coming to the market February 11th called Lost Ark, and we plan to cover it as best we can. Obviously, it's up against the wall of Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring, but we plan to cover it a lot if we can. I would love to get a Sekiro sequel one day, but I won't hold my breath until we know it will happen. Elden Ring seems to set the shakeup of the whole formula going forward. No, I did not get a chance to play the network test. No. Nope. I have not got to touch a single square foot of Elden Ring. Never heard of Tenchu. It's a PlayStation 1 classic. Oh, well, that would make sense. So I grew up in a Nintendo home, and I went from the regular Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, GameCube. My brother had a Dreamcast, but that didn't last long. After GameCube, I got into PC gaming. I played a lot of Quake 2, Quake 3, Unreal Tournament, Call of Duty, and then I came back to consoles with the Xbox 360 and Call of Duty World at War. So the PlayStation era, people are like, I can't believe this is the first time you played God of War. I can't believe this is the first time you played Uncharted. Well, that's why. I completely glided over that entire era. I never touched a PlayStation game. The only PlayStation game I ever touched was I spent the night at a friend's house and we played Devil May Cry. I don't even know which one it was. And I remember just thinking it was cool that I could jump and shoot and stay in the air. That's all I really remember. Played that for years and still have it. What I meant was the Dreamcast was short-lived. Yeah, the Dreamcast as a system was short-lived. What if Elden Ring is a buggy mess like all the other AAA games lately? As far as we can tell from the Elden Ring technical test, it won't be a buggy mess, but it might be poorly optimized for console. We are hoping that changes. There was reports of a lack of optimization on console for those that played. So, but I don't think it'll be a buggy mess. Sekiro has a lot of the best bosses in FromSoftware's history. Less stressful is good, right? You still want a feeling of tension when you're playing the game, and you hope that isn't lost. Well, one of the things about the discussion, if you're just tuning in and you're enjoying the coverage, by the way, I am a safe for work broadcaster, so a lot of people subscribe to the channel and they throw me on in the background throughout the week like video game radio. You can subscribe in confidence. I'll be in your sub feed all week with variety game coverage like this. Just this week, we covered a whole host of things, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel, especially if you're looking for some of my coverage next week. We're going to be looping back to some of the things we've recently covered. But the idea of being less stressful is good. So the poll at the top of the chat is based on the interview of they don't want you to feel like this inordinate stress of I gotta loop back, I gotta run back, there's too many enemies. They don't want you to feel that. They don't. They want it feels more quality of life. The bosses are going to be hard, the enemies are going to be hard, but we don't want you to feel annoyed or stressed by the game's design. There's going to be closer spawn points to retread areas. Oh, coffee was good today? Oh yeah, I'm good. It's the best I've made it. My wife says the coffee today is the best I've made it. That's the dark roast. That's the dark roast. You can order that coffee at ragelessroast.com. My wife's coming in and helping with the plugs. She's actually just checking on me. She does that throughout the day. Rageous Roast Dark Roast is what my wife is drinking right now. She says it's the best I've ever made it. If you've never tried our coffee before, one of the reasons both the dark and the light roast are so drinkable is the balanced acidity. I'm even drinking one right now for our spring-summer. And the reason we're going with the one that I've been drinking and we're going to choose it is because it's going to maintain that that balanced acidity, that drinkability. So, just a quick sampling of some of the things we've covered this week. If you missed any of the shows, yesterday we covered the Sea of Thieves live stream event, the Dying Light 2 DLC roadmap. They're going to support the game for 5 years. We broke down a lot of that. There was new Elden Ring gameplay that we covered. There was new Horizon Forbidden West gameplay that we covered. Halo Infinite, their update letting you earn credits in the store update. Lost Ark, God of War Ragnarok, the Dark Souls exploit, New World, Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, even Fortnite. I gave you my theory on how I think they're building a Fortnite MMORPG. So a whole host of subjects that we've covered over the last couple of weeks. Dark Roast, I think you mean Zubair Roast. Everyone order a bag now. Yeah, let's see if we can set a record for coffee sales today. I think the record is like 26 sales. The record's 26 sales. So I'll take 10. I'll take 10. We already have one. Oh, they're finally shipping. Thank goodness. Yes. Golly. We'll have a new sponsor to announce very soon, hopefully in February. I'll have to email them and get the code straightened out. Took a while. What was your favorite base game boss from Dark Souls 3? My favorite boss was probably either Dragon Armor or the Twin Brothers, the Twin Princes or whatever they're called. I loved Dragon Armor. I didn't like the meteors or whatever coming in from out of frame. I really liked the Twin Princes. I actually really liked Pontiff Sullivan. I whooped on him real good. People were like, "Oh, you can't beat Pontiff without a parry." I finessed the frick out of him with dodge. I didn't have any issues. The camera was the worst thing in Pontiff. I had to learn to just stay away from the frickin' walls. Lothric and Lorien. Yes. Yeah. The guys that are like, one's on his back or whatever. The meteor spell convinced me to level arcane. I just thought the dragon armor looked cool. I found it really, really satisfying. What's the favorite coffee that I sell? Is the light roast. I think our light roast is the most drinkable coffee in existence. We've had a lot of people try it, and then, like, my wife had a local place that she liked to go to, and she can't go there anymore. She says it just doesn't taste the same. It tastes almost bitter because our coffee's got the, again, I say it a lot, but the balanced acidity, I'm telling you, it'll convert you. You'll have a hard time drinking other coffee if you get used to ours. And the dark roast is a favorite of people that like to do a cold brew. There's a new interview with Miyazaki that just went up 20 minutes ago. Could be worth a read-through. Lambert, can you tell me who put it up? Do you know what's the name of the website? I'll pull it up and we'll read through it. I beat Pontiff first try, although I finished Bloodborne as the first FromSoftware game. When's your date with Sister Fried? Oh, I know, Fried or whatever her name is. I hear about Sister Fried, I hear about Madeir, and I hear about the Nameless King. You brew your coffee in a French press? No, but there's people here that use French press with Rageless Roast. Yeah, I don't. I just use a drip coffee maker. But there are people here that do the French press. It converted me. Yeah, there's people in chat that will tell you. They'll tell you which is their favorite. They'll tell you how they make it. They'll tell you how it'll convert you. Yorm was so cool. Yorm is the coolest looking boss that I faced in Dark Souls 3. Yorm is amazing. He's just a stupid gimmick of a fight once you figure out what to do. Don't forget Gael. Yeah, I hear about Gael as well. Aldrich gave me real trouble. The twin princes, once I figured out that I didn't need to step off of the front of the room, the first teleport is what kept getting me, because the camera will like try to whip around. And then, second phase of the fight, when I realized there was a thrust coming after the teleport, I had him. The minute I realized that, because it was hard to see him through like the smoke or something, I forget what it was. There's something that happens in second phase. I was having a hard time reading the thrust attack, and he kept getting me. And a thrust attack is awful because it's like it hits you like multiple times. Once I realized that, I really flipped the fight around. I didn't like how fast Dark Souls 3 was. I like my old Souls. Yeah, that is one thing quality of life will do, Scott. It'll shrink the game, won't it? It'll shrink the game because you're suddenly just doing things faster. You know what I mean? Like you're not needing to retread. You're not needing to run back. Like it shortens the game. Some of the quality of life, updates and changes will certainly do that. Hey, somebody ordered some coffee. Third coffee order of the day. 2 light roast bags to Option. Thank you, Option, for snagging some light roast. Speaking of Gael, there's actually a mod that makes him harder. It's pretty fun. I'd recommend playing it after fighting Vanilla Gael. We certainly are looking into looping back to all those games. PlayStation.com has an interview with Miyazaki. You guys want to check this out? Let's check this out. I mean, we're covering it, aren't we? An interview with FromSoftware's Hidetaka Miyazaki. I hope I'm saying his name right. It's such a cool name, and I hope I do it justice. I really like Japanese and Korean. I think they're such cool sounding, beautiful languages. Okay. All right, here we go. I can make myself a little bit bigger in this frame. There we go. Let's see here. About 13 years ago, Demon's Souls launched on PlayStation 3, intriguing, challenging, and captivating players. Directed by FromSoftware's Hidetaka Miyazaki, the action RPG specialized in deliberate combat, unpredictable environments, and mysterious storytelling. FromSoftware has continued to evolve its formula from Dark Souls to Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, inspiring throngs of fellow game makers in the process. Hidetaka Miyazaki and FromSoftware's latest creation, Elden Ring, innovates on the core Souls formula in exciting ways. The forlorn open world... Is the music too loud? Why is the music... Okay, it's just a different song. I feel like the music was louder than usual in the feed. I just looked up and saw that. Sorry. Let's see. The forlorn open world of the Lands Between invites players to explore in any direction. A summonable mount allows for faster, more vertical traversal. Famed author George R.R. Martin has even partnered with FromSoftware to dream up the fantasy world players will delve into. It hits PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, February the 25th. It also hits PC, but this is a Sony blog, so understandably they're not going to promote that. Lucky for us, Miyazaki-san took some time away from Elden Ring's final stretch to chat about the game itself, his thoughts on accessibility and artistic collaboration, and even a bit about his time with the co-op fun of It Takes Two. Oh, I'm interested to hear him talk about that. It Takes Two won Game of the Year, and it was one of the best things we streamed last year. So PlayStation Blog says, congratulations on the warm reception to Elden Ring's closed network test. What reaction from fans and press stood out to the team the most following this extensive hands-on test? He says, thank you. Overall, we saw some relatively good reactions from the network test, which was nice. I don't tend to look at the raw user reactions. That can be a little scary. I typically get filtered feedback that comes down through various sources on the team, both on our side and the publisher side, so I get to look from a more holistic view. As to what was particularly valuable, we mostly found things that we tend to take for granted as game developers and might consider obvious. Stuff that the users found difficult to figure out or didn't gel with immediately were helpful pieces of feedback. For instance, regarding the new summon pool mechanic, users can place their signs and have them collected into a group of available players to summon. Things like this weren't immediately apparent to players, so this sort of feedback was beneficial to fine-tuning these features. Question. What one element about Elden Ring that you want to ensure isn't overlooked by fans or press before the game launches? There's not one specific area from the network test that players overlooked or part of the game that we want to push on them. Mainly, we want players to feel the importance of the level of freedom that we're focusing on this time. We want them to enjoy the game in their own way and feel liberated in this new open world that they can explore at their own pace. If possible, we want players to try and steer clear of spoilers or guides and go in with a completely fresh, open mind and enjoy that initial sense of adventure. That's how we'd want to experience the game if we were going into it for the first time. And that's how we hope our players can experience the game comfortably at their own pace with this new sense of wonder. Question: what were your biggest lessons learned in making in a sprawling open world game? Here's who we're fighting this afternoon in Sekiro. There were two major challenges we faced developing Elden Ring. The first was expanding upon the level of freedom. More so than our previous games, Elden Ring has a vast world with an open overworld. So we were faced with an ordeal of how to maintain our gameplay style while offering a renewed sense of openness. So with elements like balancing the player's exploration alongside boss fights, the order of progression that players go through the game, and the progression of the events themselves throughout the map, trying to expand on player freedom while balancing all of this was a significant challenge, but we learned many great lessons attempting to achieve this. Another challenge making an open world game is the tempo and the pacing of the player's progression, essentially trying to balance how the player paces themselves as they explore the vast open-ended map and how that factors into the scope of freedom and progression that they provide. So we also learned some valuable lessons while making adjustments in that regard. Now, he talked about this in another interview, that the pacing of the game and the rhythm and the open world and all of that was super important to them, and it was a challenge. In what ways have Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, impacted your philosophy on developing Elden Ring? I'd have to say that considering Sekiro's development overlapped with Elden Ring's to an extent, there's nothing that directly came through from that project, but there were several indirect examples there. For instance, the enemy stance break mechanic in Elden Ring is similar to Sekiro's successful posture system. We even reference Sekiro's player traversal for the horse mounting system and how you traverse the map in Elden Ring. Also, in terms of the narrative and how we tell character stories, Sekiro was a lot more direct than our previous Souls-like titles. While we were still maintaining Elden Ring's world with a sense of depth and a fragmented narrative, we're still upholding our storytelling philosophy. There's more focus on human elements and drama than before. We definitely took some inspiration from how Sekiro handled that and tried to apply the good parts to Elden Ring. Is there any advice for newcomers coming into Elden Ring, whether that's a suggested class or playstyle? In general, I'd like new players to feel unpressured and that they can approach the game at their pace. I don't want to enforce any playstyle or particular route because I'd like them to experience that sense of freedom. And I realize that while we offer games with a high level of challenge, we design them in a way that feels fulfilling to overcome. But I don't want new players to worry or stress about that difficulty too much. This time, in Elden Ring, we have many options at the player's disposal to confront challenging situations and use their cunning to outsmart enemies and bosses. They can come back to something later when they're at an impasse, so that they can have this freedom of progression and not have to bang their head against a wall over and over. They can figure out what to do and how to approach it again at their own pace. Can Miyazaki speak English? Because he's using idioms that I wouldn't expect him to use, but maybe he just interacts with enough English-speaking people. He uses a lot of idioms in this interview. Like our previous games, we have multiplayer elements, but the barriers to entry have lowered to make it a lot more accessible. So we hope players take full advantage of that. As for a starting class, it's entirely up to the player. It's an RPG, and they can approach it however they like and choose whichever looks the coolest to them. But I would recommend against choosing the naked one, known as the Wretch. As before, it's probably the most difficult starting class. Next question. How has the ongoing discourse around game difficulty and accessibility impacted the way that you've tailored and maintained FromSoftware's trademark difficulty in Elden Ring? Was that something your team has been trying to be more mindful of? Yes, we have. It's a valid discussion. I feel like our approach to these games, not just Elden Ring, is to design them to encourage the player to overcome adversity. We don't try to force difficulty or make things hard for the sake of it. We want players to use their cunning, study the game, memorize what's happening, and learn from their mistakes. We don't want players to feel like the game is unfairly punishing, but rather that there's a chance to win a difficult encounter and make progress. We understand that Souls-like games are regularly associated with impossible levels of difficulty with high barriers to entry. But we try to design the games to make the cycle of repeatedly trying to overcome these challenges enjoyable in itself. So we hope that with Elden Ring and the new options it provides will be a success in that respect. In Elden Ring, we have not intentionally tried to lower the game's difficulty, but I think more players will finish it this time. As I mentioned, the player's level of freedom to progress through the world or return to a challenge later are all elements that I feel will help people get through the game at a more leisurely pace. Also, there is not a focus on pure action. The player has more agency to dictate their approach against, for example, the field bosses in the overworld and how they utilize stealth in various situations. We've even reduced the number of hoops that you have to jump through to enjoy it in multiplayer. So we hope the players embrace that idea of receiving help from others, and we feel like the overall clear rate will go up this time because of these things. No, he has a translator. Okay. Word on the street, Elden Ring's gonna flop. You've been warned. You sad to see a good stream today? You on your alt? Let's see here. Elden Ring seems more lush, inviting, and adventurous than anything I've played by FromSoftware. Is this intentional? And does the game ultimately descend into much darker territory overall? If you're just tuning in, we're reading through a brand new interview with Miyazaki. He says, yes, this was intentional, though not necessarily to make the game brighter, but giving it a splash of color was necessary this time, particularly considering Elden Ring has a vast open world to explore. We wanted to give it a sense that the golden age has passed, though this world, and that the player can still see traces of it. We wanted to provide the world with a much more painterly look to invoke a high fantasy feeling as a theme. As, in such a large open world, to have it be dark all the time would be too oppressive. So we're trying to use the broadness of the lands in between to show the appeal of both sides. You can have these brighter, more colorful moments, but you can also have darker, more intense situations from previous FromSoftware titles. So we hope that players will look forward to the dark side as well. Can players expect fan-favorite FromSoftware features like New Game Plus and multiple endings in Elden Ring? Yes, both New Game Plus and multiple endings will be intact in Elden Ring. I think we covered that the other day briefly. Could we get 300 likes on the video? If you haven't hit the like button, please do that. Before I continue with the interview, just a little station identification. Usually I am in this scene doing variety gaming news coverage throughout the week. Every Friday is From Friday. If you're a huge FromSoftware fan, we've enjoyed meeting all of you. You're welcome to hit subscribe. It's free. And you can do so in confidence. I'm a safe for work broadcaster. I'll be in your sub feed all week and doing all sorts of different game coverage. And this afternoon, we'll be continuing my very first playthrough of Sekiro. We just recently finished my very first playthrough of Dark Souls 3, and we are now on my 10th episode of Sekiro. We just beat Owl last time, and today we're heading to the monk or whatever his name is. So, thanks for being here. It's free to subscribe. It's free to smash like. We appreciate you being here and the support. Even if you subscribe to the channel and you only show up on Fridays, that's totally fine, because once Elden Ring is here, you'll probably be here a lot more. So, very excited to be sort of a new FromSoftware convert. Do you have an OnlyFans? You're cute. Well, I appreciate that. I don't have an OnlyFans, no. Sorry. In previous interviews, you've said that you aim to balance beauty and grotesqueness in boss design. Can you explain how you tackle this using one of the revealed bosses in Elden Ring? What you're referring to is the balance between otherworldliness and a sense of beauty is most associated with Dark Souls boss characters. In Elden Ring, we wanted to take a slightly different approach because we had these brand new characters that George R.R. Martin wrote alongside the setting and the mythos he provided for the world. He created these very heroic and grandiose designs, essentially these demigods from the history of Elden Ring's world. So we wanted to take what he provided us and create a new core for these characters and how we designed them. From the boss designs we've revealed so far, the one that I feel is a good match for how we take a heroic concept and twist and misshape it due to the power of the Elden Ring shards is Godric the Grafted. He is an excellent example of this because he encompasses the feeling of sadness and frustration when a lord comes to the end of his reign, trying to cling desperately to the power he still has left. In this way, Godric is a great embodiment of the new design approach. Let's change gears a bit. Did you get much time to play games these days? And are there any new releases that grabbed your attention the last few years? I haven't had a lot of time to play video games recently, but I try to dedicate some time when I can. One game that stuck with me recently was It Takes Two. I managed to play that one from start to finish with a friend online in 3 days across 3 sittings, and it was a great time. That game really left an impression on me, so yes, that's one that I've managed to finish at least. I think it's high praise for It Takes Two to get that kind of praise from Miyazaki. Not to mention it won Game of the Year, and you can see why. It seems to be a very very enjoyed game. Video games aside, I've always loved more analog games like tabletop and things like that. And one I do enjoy is a game called Murder Mystery. Not so much these days, unfortunately. It's challenging to organize remotely and get people together, but yes, these more analog games are ones I greatly enjoy. What stood out about It Takes Two that made it unique or memorable for you? It didn't let up throughout, and it never let me get bored. The art and gameplay are different in each stage, and the game encourages you to cooperate across its entirety, yet still maintains that artistic element. It's continually fun to play, and it felt extremely fresh to me right up until the end, which was impressive to me as a fellow creator. Honestly, I don't have that much interest in it at first, but when I gave it a go with my friend, it finally clicked. And with a small child of my own, the narrative resonated with me, which was most interesting in the end. That's pretty cool. If you collaborate with another influential creator, writer, game developer, movie director on a FromSoftware game, who would it be? That's a difficult question. Even with the George R.R. Martin collaboration, this is something I didn't imagine would be possible, and yet here we are. It's not something I've given a great deal of thought to generally, to be honest, but let me see if I can think of something. He pauses. I don't think I could choose a fellow game creator. Honestly, one of the major appeals of working with George R.R. Martin was how the medium he works in is such a different style. Games and books are vastly different forms of media, after all. So, if I were to choose, it would be someone who can provide the same level of stimulation that's impossible for us to achieve as game developers. It could be someone who works in books, art, music, or anything that gives that impetus and can drive us as fellow creators, but in an entirely different genre. I think that would have to be it. It's very challenging to pinpoint a specific person or studio. Is there anything else you wanted to mention for the players or any other closing thoughts? I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who has been following Elden Ring and watching us so closely. We appreciate all the support we've received throughout its development and campaign. We designed these games to be challenging yet fulfilling, which will be very much intact in Elden Ring. But, as we touched on earlier, we want players to concentrate on the sense of adventure the game provides. We hope players discover the simple joy of exploration when playing it, and that they can approach it in their own way at their own pace. That's what I hope. What's this thing that you said yes to? The Sekiro question. So that was a brand new published interview today with Miyazaki. So if you've enjoyed hearing that or debating just this morning the updates that they have said to make the game less stressful, hit subscribe, chime in chat with any thoughts you have about that interview. I thought it was a very good interview. It was very pleasant to read. We welcome all the new people today, tons of new subscribers. So thank you for being here and smashing the like button. We just hit 300 likes. We greatly appreciate that. We've even sold some coffee. So thank you to everybody who has been ordering the coffee. If you want to support the channel directly, there's a $sign at the bottom of the chat box. You can send a tip or become a member. It is free to subscribe, free to hit like. Even if you only show up on Fridays for From Fridays, that's what today is. We call Fridays From Fridays. How wild is his take on It Takes Two? I just think when you make a good video game, I don't know. I just think it transcends culture. I think it transcends preferences and personality. I do. This guy develops, Souls games, and he really, really liked It Takes Two, It's really, really cool. And he said, as a creator, the fact that it felt fresh the entire time was the most interesting aspect of it. And I can see why he would think that, because maintaining interest is something that he talked about in this interview and when he interviewed with Edge Magazine. The idea of we want the rhythm and the pace of the game to keep your interest. We don't want the player to get bored. And I thought that was interesting that he had those things to say in this PlayStation interview as well as the Edge Magazine interview, and then that was one of the main reasons he enjoyed It Takes Two, is that it maintained his interest. It felt fresh the whole time, which I think touches on what Creature told me when he told me he thought that It Takes Two should win Game of the Year. He said it's like 6 different game genres in one, and that's probably one of the reasons that all the new areas felt so fresh, because it felt like a new game. It was like the game went through what would it even be? It would be the game went through different epochs, I guess. I don't even know how to describe it other than the genre of the game shifted and evolved the entire time. Who knows? We could see a more co-op focused From game in the future. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, almost 800 votes on the poll. Elden Ring new gameplay info, saying it will be less stressful. Not easier, but less stressful. More spawn points, things like that. Do you think that's a good decision? 73% of you have said yes in today's poll. So thank you for voting on the poll, smashing like and hitting subscribe. So many new names in chat as well, chiming in with the discussion. Hopefully you stick around when we switch over to Sekiro. Hopefully you stick around for that. We have greatly enjoyed dipping in to FromSoftware games. I traditionally never played them. So if you're kind of new and maybe you've never been here before, I just recently beat Dark Souls 3, and now I'm working my way through Sekiro for the very first time. So we really appreciate the support from the FromSoftware fans as I kind of become a convert, as it were. And we greatly appreciate that. The love and the support that we've gotten through this. And we are nearing 11,000 subs, which is just crazy. I feel like we just celebrated hitting 10,000. So we've greatly appreciated the growth and the support as of late. We really, really appreciate it. Good reporting, wild stuff. Yeah, and don't forget, Split Screen gets a video every morning. Those of you that are subscribed to our larger channel, Split Screen has 47,000 subs. It's a larger channel, and we've changed the direction and the branding on the channel. It's now sort of like content creator news, platform news, esports, shoutcasting, and every morning you get your morning coffee. It's a very quick news briefing, and it's basically a 45-minute, a 4 to maybe a 5-minute video, and the one this morning was about DJ Wheat calling the purple platform stupid. He doesn't work there anymore, so he's kind of coming off the leash, and I love it. Hopefully he talks more. I hope more people talk about that horrible company. Stick around, watch Lono suffer. Yeah. Now, you said earlier that the word on the street is it was going to flop. Where are you reading that? Where are you reading that? You've had your YouTube account for 5 years. I thought maybe you were somebody in here on an alt to be rude, but now you're calling me Lono and you have a 5-year YouTube account. Yeah, I saw that too, Sinos. Concerns about mental health and how long people have to stream. It's extremely interesting. I'm gonna throw that in one of our saving rooms that we use. Pokey wants a kid-safe platform. You got mental health, experts now talking about how it's unhealthy what they ask people to do. And their entire format is built around people streaming for really, really long periods of time. Just look at Ludwig's commentary on why he didn't sign the dadgum contract, because they were going to make him stream longer than he wanted to. I'm excited for Lono to see what I consider to be the second most beautiful area of the game. You're going to love this next fight. Yeah, I'm excited. Curious why Purple hasn't invested in a Purple for Kids or something like... Because it gets the minute you include that you're targeting children under 13, COPPA applies, and they probably don't want to play around with that. The Child Online Privacy Protection Act, you don't want to mess with that. The minute you designate on YouTube that your content is for kids, all sorts of things apply to the video, and it really struggles to get exposure and growth because a lot of the interaction points get turned off. Appreciate the read-through. Audio helps at work. Thank you. Just curious, how are you guys considering the name change on the other channel to SNTR News? Of your other channel, which channel are you talking about? We're considering completely dropping the moniker of SNTR and just rebranding everything for brand cohesion, because that moniker doesn't make any sense anymore. So, but we're not going to change this channel. This channel, this little thing down here might change. The logo will stay the same, but, it might say something different there one day. But it's not going to change the show. It's certainly not going to change what we deliver. We just want to maybe create some brand name cohesion. And that may be something that happens soon. I don't know. My eye itches. I loved how it's had a sort of an Eldritch feel to it. Can't wait for the final fight. Yeah, we were considering going over a little bit early today because we did want to check out the new Uncharted, right? I enjoy the news updates. I was curious about that. I feel like you're either not paying attention or I'm not sure what you're doing, D-Crew. We just changed the channel to split screen because we feel the identity as split screen embodies esports news, industry news, content creator drama, shoutcasting. That identity encapsulates what we're doing over there now. I don't know why we would call it SNTR News. It hasn't even been under the moniker of Say No to Rage for well over a year, I think. It just didn't make any sense. I didn't even ever really like the name that much. It stuck and it had good SEO. That's why I kept the name. I was never a big fan of the name because of all the trollish, stupid comments that we got. Say no to rage, bro. I do think you've successfully taken back the SNTR name at the very least. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't... People that come in here and like, what's that mean? It's like, well, I guess it means this, which is a channel I started 7 years ago that, like, that name and moniker doesn't mean anything anymore. You know? It's not even the goal of my content. Right? Esports is not a sport. Changed my mind? No. Didn't you change the name? We did go back to it, that's right, after the upper echelon video, because people were looking for me. That is true. We went back to the old logo and name for like 2 weeks, and then we switched it back. If you thought the jailers were bad, shut up. I hate how foreboding you guys are. I beat a boss. And you guys like, good job. Just wait till the next part, though. When I search for it on YouTube, it's still coming up as that. I get notifications now. Maybe I did not see the name change. If you search for that, there's nothing under that name anymore. There's nothing under that name anymore. There's no channel under that name. I mean, yeah, split screen still comes up because of the history, but yeah, that's not. It's literally called split screen. It's a blue and white S. Yeah, I don't know. Are you getting Elden Ring on PC? The next area does not have unmitigatable damage. I hate you. I hate you. If you search Standard Rage, it comes up with split screen, which makes sense. Yeah, I'm fine with that. That channel's history. I mean, that makes sense why I would do that. You got a week to bask in the owl glory. When's the Game Informer article dropping? Today? I don't know. We just read an interview from PlayStation blog, so I don't know. I don't know. We're not necessarily in a position to I don't know. I wish gamers would convert from using professional gaming away from esports. Pro gaming just sounds way better than esports. When I searched it, yeah, Upper Echelon's video is the first, and then you see split screen. It's like hazing every single week. Yeah. No, D-Crew, it's okay. It's okay if you didn't catch the update, because to be quite honest, YouTube isn't showing people the freaking update. I uploaded a video that said my most important video ever, and 9,000 people saw it out of 47,000 subscribers. So it's like, it's not that 47,000 people saw that video and thought, yeah, I'm not going to click on that. They didn't see the dadgum video. Like, right now, if you go subscribe to a channel and you watch all their videos for a week, and then you don't watch them for a month, you will stop seeing their videos in your feed and in your suggest, in your feed, in your alerts. It just won't be there. Because YouTube's like, why would we do that? You're not watching their stuff. If you start watching other content, like spend a week watching a channel that you subscribe to the channel and you watch the channel and they're teaching you how to reframe doors in your home or something of that nature. It's like a carpentry channel. And you watch that carpentry channel for a week, okay? And then for a month, you don't watch any of their content. They could upload a video saying, I'm dying and I need your help, and you wouldn't see it because you haven't watched their content in a month. If you stop watching their carpentry stuff and you start watching carpentry content on another channel, you would get fed that channel's uploads. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when people were consistently consuming my content because it was Durstiny and then I stopped covering it, well, they started getting their Durstiny content elsewhere. And then they started not seeing my stuff because I'm talking Outriders. I'm talking about, you know, Fall Guys and Fortnite and all these other gaming news subjects. And so the YouTube algorithm's like, well, clearly you don't care about this guy's stuff. So I upload a video that I'm like, it's my most important video ever. We're moving the live show over here. And like 1/5 of the audience saw it. 1/5. And then so all these people are now rolling in. They're like, what happened? What's going on? And it's like, well, it's not their fault. They don't know. They genuinely don't know. It didn't tell them what was going on. YouTube does have a lot of work to do on the live streaming front. Hopefully this year they can make some good changes. I mean, they're going to have to bring in new leadership because they just lost a bunch of people, but that likely will be good. So, what you're talking about is why I hate subscribing. Right, like if you're a real persnickety YouTube user, you don't like the fact that they do all these things, right? You just don't like it. So you're going to avoid all that nonsense. But YouTube has a vested interest in getting you to watch videos, and one of the best ways to do that One of the best ways to do that is to use the suggestion algorithm and get stuff in front of you that you're gonna like. Pin the comment. Okay, hang on. We uploaded a video this morning on Split Screen about DJ Wheat, and I'm being told to pin one of the comments. If you guys take the time to write really thoughtful comments, it's not letting me pin it. Did you already pin it? Oh, there it is. Pin. I have to click on the comment. I can't do it out in the main thing. I have to click on the comment and then I can pin it. That's weird. If less stressful means easier, yep, bad decision. Alvaro, they made pretty clear in the description and in the interview that it will not be easier. They're removing some of the stress of like retreading and re-getting your stuff back and all of that. A guy actually did that? A guy got banned on Purple for doing that. Why would you do that? That's likely going to be a perma. What an idiot. Anyway. New Elden Ring post? You mean this one? Because we read through this one, the interview on PlayStation Blog. We read through that. Yeah, the guy who shaved. The guy shaved. I was scrolling through my Twitter feed. He shaved himself. Like, what the frick? Wow, I don't understand why you would do that. He literally pulled it out and shaved it. I don't know why you would do that. What do you think is going to happen? There could be real consequences of something like that. Could there not be? Because of the age of the people watching? Purple's a 13 and up platform. You talk about you could get in serious, like, genuine legal trouble for doing that, could you not? What about the woman that did that? There's a woman that I forgot I was live or whatever the frick, or I didn't know I went live on the wrong platform or whatever the frick she claimed. You're looking at severe consequences for that kind of nonsense if you could prove definitively that a minor was in the stream. Breathes twice on glasses. He took it out. That Seinfeld episode. He took it out. What an episode. Manscaped will stop at nothing. So glad you got the reference. Big Seinfeld fan. Picked up on it. Speaking of Purple, I made, a really long time ago, I reserved the name of a podcast on that platform. If you guys remember Unfiltered Contrast, I reserved that name a super long time ago. Just in case. We weren't sure if we were going to do the podcast on a separate channel because it wasn't necessarily safe for work. Because Cody's Australian and his literal brand name is Excessive Profanity. And he has truth in advertising. And I got an email yesterday on that account saying something to the effect of like, come watch streams. Here are the most popular streams right now. I was like, what? I haven't received an email on that account ever. Literally never, because I've never done anything with it. I had everything turned off. You don't need to send me promotional materials. The account The account never logged in or streamed or did anything, and they emailed me. You talk about they got to be desperate for viewership when they're emailing a super old, derelict, inactive account to be like, come watch streams. Like, the frick are y'all doing over there, man? You and excessive profanity worked really well together. Yeah, well. Art dies under the actions of tyrannical men. So. And women. Art dies, man. The death of lots of artwork underneath that, underneath the rubble. But tyrannical men and women come to quick and swift ends of their own doing, so I don't really care. Yo, what's good, Matazbo? They've been pushing those emails out to me more than normal as well. Yeah. Yeah. These Manscaped commercials are getting out of hand. Yeah, they reached out to me a couple of times, and I couldn't in clean conscience do it. It's like it's just too... I don't know. You weren't kidding when you said they had a fan house? What do you mean? And they're cross-promoting it? Which is against TOS. It's against TOS to promote OnlyFans and Fan House on that platform, and they all do it anyway. It's against TOS. So many of them were ardently against objectification until they could make a dime off of it. They were also ardently against it. And then it was like, wait, I can make money? Well, it's fine now. Their morals, their code dropped at the first sign of trouble. Or in this case, dropped at the first sign of dollar signs. Yeah. It's a bad joke, like the Joker says. Their code, their morals, it's a bad joke. Oh, my wife said their morals and code are as strong as Purple Platform's TOS. Hey-o! Madam's taking shots at Purple. You're weak. You're weak, Purple. Impotent platform, man. DJ Wheat called you stupid on your own platform. How's that feel? You're so dumb. You cost 11 people their jobs. Imagine having someone stream on your platform talking about how stupid you are. That you cost 11 people their jobs. He's booting up again today. I love it. I'm so here for it. The inmates are running the asylum, bro. It's the best. Oh, it tastes like victory. What happened? One of the last true statements of the Purple Platform. He was one of the last true statements. He left. He's done. He quit. And he's unleashed now. He's off the leash. He's off the leash. Did you make a video on what you just said? Yeah, I did. It's over on Split Screen. Here, let me show you. Split Screen is a great channel. It's a great channel. You should be subscribed to it. Here you go. Here's my channel. Well, hang on a second. I have to turn off something because then the banner doesn't work. The dark mode in the dark mode extension turns off the banner. Here's Split Screen right here. This video. DJ Wheat blasts Purple. Yesterday we did our very first live stream of Drop Die Cast over there in Fortnite. Well, we uncovered the truth about Amaranth and the Purple Platform. And this afternoon at 3 p.m., shoutcasting Chris Fix, I Can Cast Anything episode, how to solder wires. So you can challenge me. You think I can't shoutcast anything? You'll find out if I can today on our very first episode of I Can Cast Anything. So if you want to see this video here of DJ Wheat blasting purple, look at that. That's a great freeze frame. He's like, "Gah!" And I'm like, get him, Marcus. Anyway, that's a great channel. Make sure you're subscribed to that channel for all the great split screen content. Esports news, platform news, shoutcasting, all of it. Make sure you're subbed over there. Can you shoutcast guys making throwing stars? I don't know. Submit it as a challenge in the room. There's an ICCA room in the Discord. ICCA, I Can Cast Anything. I Can Cast Anything in the Discord. If you're a paying member here or on split screen, you can submit those challenges. He left? Yeah, he left. He was supposed to be there, Loot. DJ Wheat was supposed to be there till January the 25th. They updated his time. He left on the 21st. So yeah, he's gone. The last true statesman. They're all gone. You should be able to choose how you want to play, easy or hard. It brings more people in and doesn't affect others. So you should be able to play how you want, casual or hard. Oh, I strongly disagree with what you're saying. There should never be an easy mode in a FromSoftware game, no. Easy modes and hard modes generally in games are just very lazy developments to get more people to play, making enemies either absolutely soft tissue paper or brute sponges. It's not genuine difficulty spectrum to begin with. And the way that FromSoftware games are developed, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't jive with how they build their games. So it would hurt my experience because it would be an absolute dilution of what the game is about, which is an incredibly challenging game that is just, it has options and solutions to beat it. And one of the vibrant natures of these games, of FromSoftware games, is the idea that there can be alternate solutions and you know, pathways to victory. You think DJ left on a good note, or you think he stepped on some toes on the way out? Homie, he was always stepping on toes there. That's why I liked him. He was always stepping on toes. That's why he liked me. Unfortunately, he couldn't do anything to help me when everything happened, but he liked me. He told me that to my face. He's like, I like you, he said, because you speak your mind and you're critical of the platform in all the right ways. He's like, I do the same thing. He's like, I go to meetings and I tick everybody off. He's like, because I take up for the community, I take up for the content creators. He said, I ruffle feathers. He liked me. We were kindred spirits. We had very similar thoughts about the platform. It's why he pushed for me to be a main stage host at E3. It's why he pushed for me to be a part of the Summer Games Fest when I co-hosted with Kelly Link and Okadrian. He made that happen. DJ Wheat made that happen because he liked me. So he probably just got sick of where the company was going. I got to get out of here, dude. This place is freaking toxic. It's a disaster. And it's not a profitable company. They're not profitable. They make a ton of money, but they're not profitable. So you don't have to use the bonfires. That's your decision. Play as hard as you want. Let others play their way. Oh, you're talking about playing casual or hard. You weren't, Brian, you're not talking about actually adding a hard mode or a bad or an easy mode, right? Did he help when everything went down, though? He couldn't. He worked for Twitch Studio. Yeah, I'm getting ready to schedule. We're not going to be able to. I'm getting ready to schedule, Creature. We missed our window, because now I'm going to schedule. They'll get the 30 for the noon. It's fine. It's not a big deal. 2 hours should still be enough time. 2 hours should be enough time for Sekiro. Yeah, he worked for Twitch Studio, Paul, so don't get it twisted. There is a distinct difference between Twitch Studio and Twitch. There's a big, big difference. And what he did was he handled the Friday shows. He handled the E3 hosting. He handled, like, when I went to the hosting an interview workshop, that he oversaw that division. So he couldn't do anything. He couldn't do anything. So I'm trying to talk to him. I'm trying to reach out to him, but he might not want to talk to me. But I would love to know if he has any info that would help me, because I'm getting more and more. But you know, all right. Let me get this next thing scheduled. We're gonna be switching gears to Sekiro. True Monk and Divine Dragon are they're up. It's their turn. This will be Sekiro episode 10. We'll be fighting the Sekiro True Monk boss fight and maybe the Sekiro Divine Dragon boss fight. True Monk boss fight and the Divine Dragon boss fight are potentially where we're headed today. Okay, come down here. This is part 10. Get rid of this. All right, we're going to do... Oh, wait. I can't. I need to do True Monk first. Sekiro True Monk. Sekiro True Monk boss. True Monk boss fight. There we go. Okay, that's what we've got our sights set on today. Well, I guess as long as people get to 30, that's all that matters. Set this for noon. A nooner. Wait, what's FastFlex talking about? This happened? Oh, yeah, that happened. Yeah. Ric Flair with 5 months. Ric Flair, woo! Thank you for being here, brother. Guys, make sure and stick around. If you're looking for the Elden Ring new gameplay info, we covered the fact that it's going to be less stressful and not less difficult, but less stressful. We want to know what you think with the poll at the top of the chat. Remember to hit subscribe. That way you can talk in my chat, and that way you're also here for every From Friday. That's what today is. It's From Friday. We cover FromSoftware topic, Elden Ring news, very consistently covered here. And then we're going to transition here in a little while to my very first playthrough of Sekiro, and I am working today on the True Monk. I have not read a guide or watched a video. I'm going in green. I played through the whole game that way. Now chat gives me, traversal or certain tips and tricks, but nobody ever really gives me a guide on how to beat a boss. Just last week I beat the owl with no prosthetic, no shinobi arts, and it was a very, very fun and satisfying fight. It took me about 45 minutes, not members. What if Tier 2 members can submit vids of themselves doing something for ICCA instead of just random YouTube vids? The problem with that, Dan, I love the idea, by the way, to motivate like somebody upgrading to another tier of membership. The problem with that is I can cast anything as only once a week. So it would take forever for you to get, like, imagine this with me. Number one, I don't want to only do that. I think the humor and the comedy of it will come from me shoutcasting things that are random, like today's video. I think that's where the humor lies. Like, me shoutcasting you playing Apex isn't really why we designed the segment, okay? Now, a tier 2 member asking for that treatment, we'd have to do that as like a members only video because it wouldn't get tons of views. I don't even know if I have time to do it. And if I only do it once a week, it would take a lifetime for me to get to you. If there's just 20 people that do it, it's going to take 20 weeks for somebody to get their video. You see what I'm saying? That's just super, super difficult to do. Don't let Lono fool you new people. He sacrifices us for every death. We know what we signed up for. Have we rolled over to 11K yet? We are super, super close to 11K subs, man. YouTube is already saying it's 11K. It's not quite there yet. We're like a couple of subs away. So if you haven't hit subscribe yet, feel free to do that and help us hit another milestone. Yeah. For you guys in the Discord that are discussing, yeah. The girl that claimed she was recording content and accidentally went live and showed her hoo-ha. She got a very, very light suspension. It was maybe 48 hours, I think. There was another girl that took her top off. She claimed she thought she shut her stream down and immediately was topless. Yeah, she got like a 48 hour, and then she got partnered day after. Now, people were angry about the partnership thing, but her partnership was probably already in process. The partnership process was like weeks long. So it wasn't like they partnered her for taking her top off. But it looked that way. The optics on it was hilarious. You showed split screen live on the show and we lost 4 subs. Frick 'em. Seriously. To all you unsubscribing from split screen, you know, you stayed subbed all this time and I start giving you content over there. Frick you. I mean that. Heartfelt. Heartfelt. You stayed subbed all this time holding out for Destiny content, and now you're going to unsub that we're putting out really good, high production quality content. Frick you. Heartfelt. Go. And don't come back. Unsub. We don't want you to sub to the channel anyway. You're not watching anything. Go lick dregs somewhere else. Yeah, Eugene, I read that interview. I couldn't believe it. His answer was hilarious. He was basically like, people are angry about Ubisoft NFTs because they don't understand them. I was like, oh, bro, this isn't gonna help. It's like everybody's really angry about Ubisoft NFTs. I got an idea. I'll go insult all of them passively in an interview. That will certainly quell the fires. I wish you would stop calling Destiny players drag lickers. I'm not calling Destiny players drag lickers. I'm calling people who subscribe to a channel and refuse to unsub as they patiently wait for me to get unbanned or whatever the frick. They're the drag lickers. You're not a drag licker if you play the game. You're a drag licker if that's all you consume on YouTube and in some weird prayer that I'm going to start covering that game again. Those are the drag lickers. I'm not talking about everybody who plays the game. Don't put words in my mouth. That's not what I'm saying. Yo, what's good, Mike on the mic? Thank you for the $5 tip. Good morning, y'all. Just checking in. I specifically stated how I was viewing it. If you've stayed subbed on that channel all this time and you won't watch any of the dadgum content, and we start putting content out and start making moves over there, and now you unsub, yeah, go away, do it. Creature calls him that. Yeah, Creature calls him that. 8 years subbed, but this new content's just too much. This new content's too much. Shoutcasting and high quality, quick consumable industry news. Yeah, I can't take this. It's too much. I come here for all the Far Cry coverage. I'm here for all the Far Cry coverage, Lono. I can't wait for you to play Far Cry 7. Yeah, people were adding me on Twitter about it, Siege. I'm like, don't freaking at me about this. I don't care about this anymore. Stop. My patron says the same thing with people who only sub for Binding of Isaac content. Yeah. Have you played previous FromSoftware games? They generally aren't open world, which is why this one being open world is special. Oh, he's talking to somebody else in chat. Yeah. Elden Ring being open world is like a pretty big deal, truth be told. The previous games are all like very narrow, constrained. Like, well, Sekiro wasn't really constrained, but most of the Souls games were. Very hallway oriented, you know? A lot of hallways, a lot of cramped spaces. This Destiny thing isn't a phase, really? Yeah, it's not a phase, Zubair. We've genuinely moved on. Let me show you. You guys want to see? Let me give you a visual, since it's hard for people to grasp. This is. I know this is challenging. Let me just show you. There you go. There. This is the channel now. You see that? Isn't that beautiful? Look at all that beautiful, scrumptious variety, you know? Tons of support, tons of love. You guys have been awesome. You guys have been amazing. Look at that. That's amazing. No, it's not a phase. Do a bait and switch. Looking back, Thomas, I think we should have done that. I think when we initially made the big plunge to say we're moving the live show over to gaming, even when we did the big split screen shift, I think we should have done that. I think we should have been like, this is my last Destiny video ever. It would have gotten way more views, and then it would have been like, oh, I've not seen your videos in 6 months. I didn't realize. It's not their fault. Like, it is their fault and it isn't their fault. It's like, well, as soon as the content shifted away from that game, they evaporated into thin air. I had mods evaporate into thin air the minute I wasn't covering that game, right? No hard feelings. I get it. I was their daily ritual in that world, and that stopped. I get it. I wasn't mad at anybody. But it's like, unsub then. Like, you know what I mean? They all just stopped watching, but they stayed subbed. So then when I try to get their attention about something, I can't do it. I'm like, hey, 47,000 of you, we're doing this big thing. They're never going to see it. And it's not their fault. It's how YouTube is set up. So it is their fault, but it's not their fault. Like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? YouTube sets it up that way. It's like, if you stop engaging with the channel, you stop seeing their content. So then you just become dead weight on the channel, and it's not your fault, even though it kind of is. I don't expect people to be like, well, I'm not going to watch today's video. I don't expect you to immediately unsub. You're probably thinking, maybe I'll be back later this week. But then more and more days pass, and they don't click because I'm not covering that game. So then I disappear to them. I suddenly, nothing I put out hits their feed. You see? So, when I get banned, the VOD has like 50,000 views. When I say, hey everybody, this is my most important video ever, I get 9,000 views. See what happened? They essentially stuck a knife in the channel. They just, and then the channel bled out for 4 or 5 months. It just slowly but surely lost its support base, because that's what happens. When thousands upon thousands of people stop clicking, thousands upon thousands of people stop seeing you. That's what happened. So our hope is with the new thrust over there on split screen, esports, shoutcasting. The shoutcasting of Fortnite yesterday was a great turnout. We got a ton of subs from that. And then after it was over, and as the day transpired, we lost a ton of people. Why? That probably hit their feed and they're like, I don't want this. Unsub. And genuinely, buy. Genuinely, buy. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want all that dead weight on the channel. So, I mean, I say it with a smile on my face. It's like, yeah, frick you, heartfelt. That's obviously, I'm memeing a little bit. It's like, yeah, leave, seriously. Like, I don't expect you to stay. I'm not making content for you anymore. What about it makes it less stressful? I'm curious about the statement to make the game less stressful without being easier. Outdoors leads to less stress. Hallways is more stressful. Yeah, Curiate, let me answer your question. So the idea is this. In Dark Souls, when you're trying to traverse an area, you don't have a whole lot of choices. You just got to go through it, right? In an open world game where there's more freedom and more choices, Miyazaki said what you can do is you can leave the area and come back later after you're stronger. Maybe you've changed your build a little bit or whatever. They also talked about more frequent areas of spawn, so you're not having to run through an absolute gauntlet of enemies to get back to where you were or to get back to your boss fight. So they're attempting to basically take the game and allow it to breathe a little bit so you have freedom and you have less really long retreads. That doesn't make the game easier. It's just less stressful. It's like, oh, for Pete's sakes, I'm coming and doing this later. Golly. Well, you can't really do that in traditional Souls games. It's like, no, dude, figure it out. Do you want to know why so many Souls players just run past or run through areas? Because they get sick of that. They're like, I don't want to do this again. Why do you think so many people told me, yeah, just run through this area, Lono? Yeah, it's not worth it. Just run. Just run away from Cinder when he gets out his scimitar. You know what I mean? So they have feedback, they have anecdotal evidence, they have all the evidence they need to be like, we don't really need to put the players through that. It just isn't necessary. That doesn't mean the bosses and the enemies are going to be easy. They're still going to take your frickin' head off. To me, it's like a quality of life update. So that's why we said it's Elden Ring new gameplay info. Like, this is new info about the gameplay. It's not going to be like that traditional, just overly strenuous experience when you fail or have to go back to an area. They don't want it to feel like that this time around. And an open world certainly plays a huge part. Certainly does. Has he been saying thrust a lot lately? I feel like it's a lot. Oh, I don't know if I'm saying it a lot on purpose. You can see in Dark Souls 3 how much they work to fix that too. How many shortcuts let you go from a bonfire to a boss room instantly. Yeah. You guys obviously helped me with that, but that's what I said this morning. I was like, look at Dark Souls 3. I was like, most of the bosses in the late game, I have a straight line to. I don't have to retread anything. I go through this, up an elevator, take a right turn, and I'm at the Twin Princes. They're right there. Cinder, walk up a hill, and there he is. That level of stress doesn't lend itself to open world exploration. That's another good point. As far as the genre of an open world game, you don't want people feeling exhausted by the size and scope of the game. You don't want to be like, oh, for Pete's sakes, bro. For Pete's sakes, I don't want to go all the way back over. I don't want to do that. You don't want the game itself to feel unpleasant to be in, because that would inevitably, that's what it would feel like. You'd be like, it's so far away. But what they do, increase spawn points and gave you a mount. You can ride back. Ride back to where you were a little bit quicker. You know what I mean? You could argue that dealing with that stress is part of the game's difficulty, but from a non-Souls player's perspective, I think you make the game more accessible by reducing that stress. They did talk about that being a little bit more accessible, yes. He wants people to play the game and to feel like, hey, it's more accessible. There's more routes to take. There's different solutions. There's different ways you can play this game. And And that way you're struggling with the boss. You're struggling with the mechanics. You're not struggling with, I'm just too stressed out, or I don't want to run back. I don't want to do that again. You see what I mean? You don't want somebody feeling stressed and exhausted. You want them to feel like frustrated and angry, but empowered to overcome it. Like, I'm going to try and overcome this challenge. And again, instead of what traditionally happens in those environments where you're stretching the player to their breaking point, they don't like. A good example is why I quit playing Doom Eternal. I didn't quit playing Doom Eternal in a rage fit of anger. I got annoyed. I felt like the gameplay flow and loop got jacked up. I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. It was incredibly late in the game, and my drive to play just evaporated into thin air. I was like, I don't want to do this. And I calmly put that game down. Very calmly. I was like, I'm done. I'm not having fun anymore. It's not too hard. It's not too difficult. It's not enjoyable. And so I stopped playing, and I never went back. And I don't think they want an open world game to feel that way to people. I don't think they want people feeling like, oh my word, I can't do it. I can't get through this. This is so difficult. This is so inordinately stressful or anxiety inducing. And as they've said, you can see it flows from their philosophy that they approach the open world game with. They said, we want people to feel empowered to explore. We want people to feel empowered and have that sense of freedom of going out into the world. That's what they want. By the way, if you've never been here before, hit subscribe so you can talk in my chat. Subscribing is free. Every Friday is From Friday. We break down Elden Ring mostly because that's the most FromSoftware news happening. And then in the afternoon, we're playing through FromSoftware games. So in a little while, we'll be switching to Sekiro. It's my first ever playthrough of Sekiro. Recently did my first ever playthrough of Dark Souls 3. So if you like FromSoftware games, you can subscribe in confidence. You're going to get regular FromSoftware coverage. I am safe for work. You might hear one or two swears during my gameplay sessions. I try not to do that, though. I do get pretty irritated. I do get pretty salty. Fair warning. But most people subscribe and treat me like video game radio. They throw me on in the background throughout the week. I'll be in your sub feed Monday through Friday with these talk shows. How are they making the game less stressful for the player? You've been here. Did you not hear? You've been here. Did you not hear me outline it? I'll outline it again, but I mean, you've been here talking. Maybe you missed it. So they have adjusted enemy placement, resource placement, and respawn locations to make it less stressful for you to go back through areas. Especially, the dev team was careful to avoid enemies like where there's just too many of them. Okay, so what they said was, where is it? We identified a number of difficult spots, places with lots of enemies or powerful foes, as points at which many players will die and need to reattempt. The player is able to select the option of respawning very near that spot of their death for these locations. So they identified areas in the game that were particularly challenging and tough, and they know you're going to have to replay this area a lot. And instead of making you have to retread a bunch of ground to get there, these particular areas, you will be able to spawn close to them. Does that make sense? So what they're saying is, there's some really, really hard areas in the game. And when you're in those hard areas, we're not going to add to it with stress about like spawning really far away. So they've identified the worst areas in that idea is that there's lots of foes or there's lots of really challenging foes, and you're gonna die basically. So what they probably did is they applied a formula of, if the likelihood of death goes up in an area, they've shortened how far you have to go. Well, you're gonna die a bunch in this area. We'll let them come back very, very quickly. Now I've referenced this in other conversations, but when we've talked about Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Rayman Legends, they can ramp up the pressure and the difficulty that they apply to the player, because when you fail, you start right back where that really crazy area is. So what that enables them to do if you picture the intensity like a dial, they can turn the dial of the intensity up to like a 10 or an 11 if they put you right next to that section. If you turn the dial of intensity up to 10 or 11 and I got to start way back here, no, there's a breaking point. It's like, I got to go back through all this crap. It's so frustrating. Oh, lost some of my health. Oh, lost some of my heals. And now I'm in the area that's all the way of a level 11 intensity. And failure rate goes up in those areas. So you die. Whoop. Got to go all the way back here. Got to go through this. Stupid. Hate you more. Frick you. And now what's happening is point A to point B, the psychology of the player is evolving into one of, I don't like being in this game. This is annoying. But if you make me start here and I can keep jumping back in, it creates a sense of, I've almost got it. It creates a sense of, you're invested in this particular really intense challenge. You're more tethered to it. You're like, jump back in, jump back in, jump back in, jump back in. That happens in a boss fight, doesn't it? Like, when you know you can run right back to the boss, and you have a really good run, you're almost amped to respawn. You're like, all right, come on. I got him. Let's go. Let's get back into this. So I think that's what they're going for, is they're not going to make it easier, but they want to remove that stress and that nuisance and that annoyance, especially in an open world game. They can't have you, I got to span the whole map to get back to where I was. They don't want you to feel that. What'd you think of Nameless King in Dark Souls 3? So when I beat Dark Souls 3, we knew that we were short on time, and so I jumped into Sekiro without doing DLC or optional bosses. We're saving those for later, because FromSoftware games, in my mind, are always going to get support when you engage with them, especially if you go into DLC content, especially when you go fight like optional stuff like, Nameless King. And so we're saving that for like a rainy day. Every Friday is From Friday, so I could picture us, 8 months from now being like, hey, we've really gotten our fill of Elden Ring. Let's go back and do optional stuff in Dark Souls 3. Let's finally do a Dark Souls 1 playthrough. Let's, whatever. You have one of these icons under your health stamina bars when you're in one of the checkpoint areas. Oh, they literally give you an on-screen indicator. Thank you, Barrier. Unrelated, but I got to catch the first Drop Die cast at work today. Great watch. Oh, thank you. We really appreciate the support that's getting. The split screen channel is obviously getting a very, very different thrust of content, and we greatly appreciate that. We do. We've really, really shifted the focus over there, and it's exciting to see the support. Exciting to see these little comments that we're getting. My man Pico leaving a nice comment. Thank you, sir. Maybe a vid recapping the OWL deal and what went wrong with it specifically. I'd have to interview Marcus for those details. I don't know if he would do that. I don't know if he would do that, man. I don't know. I have no idea. Long live Juan. I'm not typically interested in Fortnite. Yeah, Juan, that was an amazing cast. He kills me in Tilted Towers, and we get to cast him all the way to victory. And then Team Ned Flanders. Yeah, the return of Ned Flanders. It was such a great day. It was such a great first outing. Eugene says, the juxtaposition will be so good. Open world exploration with these unique encounters you can choose to tackle or move on from versus the dungeon areas where you're cramped and stressed. Yeah. I like that too. I like that idea of having a good blend, having a good mixture. So hopefully new people seem to continue to pour in. If you're new and you've never been here before, we were discussing the Elden Ring new gameplay info about the game being less stressful. We ask in the poll at the top of the chat, what do you think about that? Is that a good decision? We will be shortly shifting gears to Sekiro. My very first playthrough of Sekiro, we are fighting the True Monk today and maybe the Divine Dragon. We have almost 1,000 votes on the poll at the top of the chat, just 25 more votes. If you want to chime in with your own thoughts or contributions to the conversation, subscribing is totally free. Subscribing is totally free, and once you subscribe, you can talk in chat, and we greatly appreciate that very, very much. Yeah, we hit 11K today. Yeah, we rolled over from 10K to 11K today. That was pretty fast. Somebody commented on the SNTR Updates channel, "You continue to impress me with your accurate take on games you discuss. I notice with games I haven't spent quite a time in, you represent it accurately." Oh, I noticed with games I have spent quite some time in, you represent it accurately. Appreciate that. What video did he comment on, Creature, and say that? Is that a Sea of Thieves comment? I didn't even see how we were doing today with that video, with the Sea of Thieves video. Removing PvP. Off to a slow start. It might get some legs later, though. Sea of Thieves? Okay, cool. Congrats, man. Well deserved. Like the video and subscribe. Thank you, Cryosphere. I appreciate that. I will say this. My favorite thing about From Friday is how many names in chat I see that are new and that I don't recognize. Getting to meet you guys, you FromSoftware fans, has been a real joy. And you've been super nice and super helpful when I'm playing through the games and getting ticked off and getting salty and mouthy. You guys are surprisingly durable. You're surprisingly durable. There's another game that I used to cover that they wouldn't put up with that for very long, but FromSoftware fans seem to be a little bit more durable to salt and anger and rage, which I genuinely appreciate because I can get pretty salty and pretty ragey. I can. Oh, and also, I'm going to do my best to give you an hour or so today of the new Uncharted collection, remastered on PS5 or whatever it is, the Legacy of Thieves, is that what it's called? Or Thieves Legacy? The frick is it called? Anyway, I'm going to try and give you some of that today as well. That is on my PlayStation and ready to go. It just got started. Don't judge. Oh, it just got started. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. It'll probably do okay. It'll probably do all right. It's the Legacy of Thieves collection. Legacy of Thieves collection. I can really see you blowing up with Elden Ring shoutcasting. A lot of PvP tubers love hosting tournaments and fight clubs, so maybe even collabs. Creature says, "Can we get the missing 10 likes on the video?" Yeah, we only need 10 more likes. You merely trained in the salt. They were born and grew up in the salt playing those games. That's right. I was born in the salt. You merely adopted it. What were people saying the one week? You must jump on her head, brother. Strawberries are rich in fiber. Okay, that's enough of that. First thing, I'm going to jump right into Elden Ring customization and leveling up. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Lot of customization. Bane. Yes. For those of you that didn't know what I was doing, they're like, why is he covering his mouth? You think Claymore is your friend? That's good. That's the. You think the darkness is your ally? You think the Claymore is your ally? Oh, man. I love this video, but please Google the man who said, "I don't know who this man is." Wait. Hang on. Did someone famous stop by? This guy, during our Horizon Forbidden West stream the other day, a guy came in and said he didn't know who I was. He's like, "I don't know who this man is." This guy's telling me to Google them. Did we have somebody famous stop by the other day? I think we were kind of rude to that person. I was like, "I'm the host of the show? What do you mean, who am I?" It was Mr. Beast in disguise. He was going to give you like $50,000, but you were kind of snarky, so he decided not to. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Don't go anywhere. We are shifting gears in a moment to the Sekiro stream. Please stick around for that. We need 3 more likes. Press that like button. Press the subscribe button. Thank you for another subscriber milestone and a like milestone. 11,000 subscribers. I'll be right back for some Sekiro. The True Monk is who we're fighting today. Look, I'm already in the game. Wait, that's the wrong input. Hang on. Look, it's my Ghost of Tsushima background. Isn't that what you guys were asking for? Wait, no, that's not right either. There it is. I'm a professional streamer. I know what the frick I'm doing. There, see, I'm already in the game. All right, I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. You're not allowed to leave. That's the rules. Anyone here play Hollow Knight? A lot of people here have played Hollow Knight. I really enjoyed it when I played through it. Okay. All right. Let's get a tweet out and an announcement out. And Sekiro. Sekiro gameplay from Friday, episode 10, live. Customize the channel to make it the featured video. Copy. Hey, 1,000 votes on the poll. You love to see it. You love to see it. How far we got in Sekiro? We're about to fight the True Monk. Now, it should redirect you and bring you with me. If it doesn't, then the link in chat is there for if it fails to redirect. Okay? Let me make sure. Yeah, I got to go in here to properties and switch it to, I believe, number 2. Okay, so the link to where we are going is in chat if you need to click it. It's also pinned to the top of chat. Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. This is going to be episode 10 of my Sekiro gameplay that we do every Friday for From Friday. From Friday is something we do to celebrate FromSoftware games, discuss things like Elden Ring, play through games like Sekiro. This is my first playthrough. I also recently did my very first playthrough of Dark Souls 3. This is all being done in anticipation of the Elden Ring launch, which we will do plenty of coverage here. I'm going to do